Chapter 11:21. Ningxue State was located in the southwest corner of the Great Zhou dynasty. It bordered the sea and was separated from the state of Qi by the Tongtian River. Although it was only a single state, its area was comparable to that of the state of Qi. There were many cultivation sects in the state, but most of them were ordinary sects due to the spiritual Qi in Ningxue State. On this day, two strangely dressed men were walking on the banks of the Tongtian River. They were bald and had 2 rows of scars on their heads. The two of them looked like they were walking normally, but with every step they took, they were several feet away. It was very mysterious. Their bodies emitted a peaceful aura, as if they were monks who had achieved success in cultivation. The elder monk had a white beard that was more than a foot long. His white eyebrows were thick and long, and he wore a red kasaya. He held a dark golden staff that was decorated with several small bells. When he shook it, no sound came out. The other monk was much younger, only in his 20s. He had delicate features and wore a dark yellow robe. He rubbed a string of Buddhist beads in his hand and looked curiously at the Tongtian River. The little monk suddenly spoke in a clear voice, "Master, we've been walking on the banks of the Tongtian River for several days. How much longer do we have to walk?" The old monk smiled with a strange aura. Before he spoke, the little monk's anxious heart calmed down a little. Then the old monk spoke gently. "Ziqing, the Tongtian River is a remnant of the ancient Yuan school. There are many dangerous places inside, especially the gentle winds. If there aren't many of them, I can protect you. But if they form a storm, even Senior Brother Abbot will have to retreat. After 10 miles or so, there are few spatial cracks. There are almost no gentle winds there. We can pass through easily." The little monk put his palms together and said the name of Buddha. He continued to walk with the old monk. But after a while, he couldn't help but ask, "Master, I've always had a question. Places like the West Sea State and the Diyuan State with the 3 great Taoist sects, and even the distant 13 countries of Eastern Cloud, have Buddhist cultivators. Even if the Tongtian River is in the way of the southwest cultivation world, it shouldn't be impossible to spread Buddhism." The old monk heard this and slowed down a few steps. He said slowly, "Great Spirit Lord Buddha, we didn't enter the southwest cultivation world because we had an agreement with a senior in the southwest." The little monk's eyes widened as he said, "Master, since you call him senior, could it be that he's a demigod realm cultivator?" The old monk nodded and said, "This senior's philosophy is completely different from Buddhism. Buddhism preaches the equality of all living beings. As long as it's a life form in this world, it's all equal, especially the demon race. They shouldn't be suppressed by the human race. Only when all the cultivators of this world are united can we face the threat of the devil race at any time. However, that senior believes that since the demon race is not of our race, their intentions must be different. Only by enslaving the entire race and turning them into the spirit beasts of the cultivators can the strength of the 2 races be truly integrated." The little monk couldn't bear it and said, "This senior is too cruel. Even after the Great War with the demon race, the ancient cultivators only expelled the demon race and didn't exterminate them." He continued, "Master, our temple has existed since ancient times. Does this senior want us to not spread Buddhism for tens of thousands of years? 10,000 years ago, our temple also had a spirit-severing senior." The old monk sighed and said, "This senior's spirit beast is the Black Tortoise Demon King, which is equivalent to the combat power of 2 spirit-severing cultivators. In a cross-region battle, even if 3 or 4 spirit-severing cultivators of the Great Zhou dynasty go together, they won't be able to win. As for the agreed time limit, it's only during her lifetime that she can't spread Buddhism." Speaking of this, his face twitched. "But this senior is different from other spirit-severing cultivators. She has lived for 30,000 years." The little monk was dumbfounded. 30,000 years. Isn't the lifespan of a spirit-severing cultivator more than 2,000 years? How? The old monk didn't answer directly, but his eyes revealed some admiration. Speaking of which, this senior is also a person with amazing talent. The cultivation method she created is exquisite. Although she enslaved the demon race, in the process of cultivation, the cultivation of the two races actually complements each other. The human race uses the demon spirit energy of the demon race to break through, and the demon race can also use the human race's methods to break through more easily, especially the threshold of the 8th level of human transformation. That senior wanted to use the power of her sect to enslave the entire demon race in the outer seas and become the most powerful sect after the ancient times. The old monk sighed. Unfortunately, there was also a genius among the demon race in the outer seas at that time. He used the body of a flood dragon to transform into the body of a true dragon and became a demon king. He blocked this senior. Both sides fought openly and secretly, and each used their own secret techniques to increase their lifespan. The stalemate lasted for 30,000 years. Not long ago, Senior Abbot sensed that the heaven-earth essence chi in the Chu country and the outer seas was gradually reaching a balance. These two powerful seniors still couldn't resist the loss of their lifespan. The little monk couldn't help but sigh. Sigh, why does this senior want to enslave the demon race? With such a cultivation method, she can totally share it with the demon race. Perhaps the relationship between the two sides will become closer, and it will be a waste of strength. Great Spiritual Lord Buddha. The old monk chanted a Buddhist name and said seriously, "These years, under the regulation of our temple, the relationship between the Great Zhou dynasty and the 5 Dragon Seas has become increasingly friendly. There hasn't been a war in the Great Zhou dynasty for a long time. This time, we are going to the southwest immortal cultivation world to spread Buddhism. We want to reduce the internal friction there. If we succeed, not only will our merit be immeasurable, it will also be greatly beneficial to our cultivation." The little monk turned the Buddhist prayer beads with a solemn expression. However, before he could speak, a deep male voice suddenly sounded in their ears. Buddhist cultivators are also thinking about the southwest immortal cultivation world? The old monk was slightly stunned, as if he didn't expect someone to be nearby. He followed the voice and looked at the heavenly stream. In the mist above the stream, 2 figures gradually appeared. The first one was an extremely burly middle-aged man. He had short hair and a square face. He was dressed in gray, and his eyes were bright and faintly flashed with a golden light. There was no aura coming from his body, as if he was a mortal. Beside him was a woman with a graceful figure. She was also dressed in gray, and she was beautiful. Her gray skin had a moist luster, and she emitted a cold aura. When the two of them appeared, the staff in the old monk's hand suddenly trembled, and the bells on it jingled. The little monk felt an invisible pressure on his face, and he couldn't help but take 2 steps back. The old monk's expression changed slightly, and an obscure dermic power rose from his body. The staff gradually calmed down and floated in front of him. He put his palms together and said, "This old monk's Dharma name is Ji Yuan, and this is my disciple, Ziqing. How should I address the 2 of you?" The burly man cupped his hands and said, "I'm Lu Kuan, and this is my junior sister, Serene." "Master Ji Yuan, you haven't answered Lu's question. Are the 2 of you going to the southwest immortal cultivation world?" The old monk said, "Great Spiritual Lord Buddha, monks don't lie. This time, this old monk is going to the southwest immortal cultivation world to spread Buddhism." Lu Kuan sized up the 2 monks and said slowly, "How are you going to spread Buddhism? Are you going to find a spirit vein to build a temple and recruit disciples?" The old monk, Ji Yuan, smiled and said, "A temple is a place to cultivate and pray to Buddha. Of course, it's necessary. However, it's more about spreading the teachings of Buddhism." Lu Kuan's expression darkened. "Master Ji Yuan, you're a late-stage nascent soul cultivator. A Buddhist cultivator with such strength must be an eminent monk of the Huatian temple. Ji Yuan's expression became serious when he was called out. He put his palms together and said, "Great spiritual Lord Buddha, this old monk is one of the heads of the Huatian temple." Lu Kuan snorted and said, "Master, I advise you to go back. With Lu here, even the top 3 sects will die if they dare to invade the southwest immortal cultivation world, let alone your 6th-ranked Huatian temple." As he spoke, the surrounding air suddenly condensed, and an inexplicable pressure spread out. Chapter 11:22. The surrounding air was filled with an invisible force field that slowly squeezed inwards as if it contained the power of 1,000 caddies. Ji Yuan's hair stood on end as a golden spiritual light filled with complex runes emanated from the red kasaya, enveloping him and the little monk. Ji Yuan chanted a strange Buddhist mantra at the same time as the dark golden staff stood in front of him. A strange swastika symbol appeared from it and imprinted itself on the protective spiritual light around them. After doing all this, Ji Yuan felt the pressure lessen significantly. His eyes emitted a clear light as he clasped his hands together and said, "Amitabha, Senior Brother Abbot said that this trip would be fraught with danger. I didn't expect to encounter such a powerhouse like fellow Taoist Lu before I even crossed the heavenly stream." Lu Kuan crossed his arms in front of his chest and only released a little of the void force field's void force field. He did not directly make a move. He sneered and said, "Master, you should go back. The Southwest Immortal Realm does not welcome any great Zhou immortal cultivators." Although Ji Yuan's magic power was surging and he looked like he was ready to fight at any time, his expression was very gentle. "I wonder if fellow Taoist Lu can resolve this old monk's doubts. Why do you have such a prejudice against the great Zhou immortal sect?" Lu Kuan's expression darkened as he snorted. "Reason? You'll know after a fight." As soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared from where he was and appeared in front of Ji Yuan in an instant. The muscles on his right arm had turned into hideous and deformed lumps, like a thick stone pillar made of flesh and blood. His entire body was enveloped by a layer of faint silver light film. Spiritual qi and demonic qi appeared from the surrounding air and supported the stone pillar, emitting a black and white halo. Ji Yuan's gentle expression had disappeared and was replaced by a stunned expression. He seemed to be frightened by Lu Kuan's appearance and was not prepared at all. The faint golden barrier around his body was shattered. Clang! A crisp sound of collision was heard. Fortunately, the dark golden staff was full of spirituality and appeared in front of him, blocking the hideous fist covered in lumps of flesh. Violent energy surged out in all directions. The heaven and earth spirit chi and devil chi were agitated, and the origin chi hidden within them surged out. Half of the Yuan chi gathered towards the dark golden staff. This strange magic weapon could absorb the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth and devil Yuan Qi at the same time. A golden swastika the size of half a person appeared, firmly pressing against the flesh and blood stone pillar. Interesting. Lu Kuan's body surged with a terrifying treasure light. His body expanded by 50% in an instant, turning into a 9 feet tall giant. He raised his free left hand, and the muscles on it bulged like a hill. Similarly, a dense black and white halo intertwined as he smashed it forward. Ji Yuan's face was pale as magic power poured out of his body. At the same time, a golden light shot out from between his eyebrows and entered the magic staff. The swastika symbol became even more solid. Boom! With a loud sound, the huge golden swastika symbol dimmed a lot, but it still seemed to be able to withstand the attack. But at this moment, Lu Kuan's rock-like fists turned into palms. His 10 fingers closed together, and the remaining black and white halo intertwined, forming a conical vortex. It was like a drill bit that stabbed into the center of the swastika symbol. At the same time, a silver light flashed. Accompanied by a destructive energy, the swastika symbol was completely shattered. However, the scattered golden light turned into balls of light that fell on Lu Kuan's huge body. These golden lights contained a powerful burning power, but they were still energy attacks. After being weakened by the Xiaoling soft armor, the remaining power only burned Lu Kuan's skin a little. Ji Yuan held the magic staff with one hand and lowered his head to look at his right chest. There was a small bloody hole on the edge of the red kasaya. He sighed and put his palms together. "Thank you for showing mercy, Taoist Lu." Lu Kuan had already returned to his normal size. He stretched out his palm, and a pale silver nail flew out of the bloody hole on Ji Yuan's chest and landed in his hand. He glanced at the dark golden magic staff and said, "Buddhist mystical powers are indeed something." Ji Yuan ignored the injury on his body and said seriously, "Master Lu's mystical powers are unique. May I ask which sect you belong to?" Silver blood flowed on Lu Kuan's fingertip. He fiddled with the nail and put it back in place. He said slowly, "Lu is the owner of the Wei Nation's body refining pavilion. A quarter of the southwest cultivation world is now under the control of the body refining pavilion." Body refining pavilion, although Ji Yuan had never heard of this sect, he could guess that its mystical powers were all related to the physical body through the battle just now. He muttered, "Body refining techniques are unheard of in the cultivation world. Master Lu hates the Great Zhou sect so much. Could it be that they are coveting the body refining pavilion's mystical powers and are trying to steal your sect's mystical powers?" Lu Kuan rubbed his fingers. The nails on them had already recovered as if they were never broken. He snorted and said, "Those greedy fellows have already died in the hands of Lu. Why? Is Huatian Temple also interested in the body refining techniques?" "Amitabha Great Spiritual Lord Buddha," Ji Yuan chanted and said, "I have yet to cultivate the Buddhist mystical powers of Huatian Temple to the extreme. Why would I be greedy for other people's mystical powers?" Greed is one of the three poisons. It is the greatest enemy of Buddhist cultivation. If you are greedy, your cultivation will not only stagnate, but it will also regress. Why would our temple do something that will harm our cultivation? Lu Kuan narrowed his eyes and realized that Ji Yuan's eyes were extremely clear when he spoke. He could not help but say, "Old monk, you're quite capable." Ji Yuan put away his dark golden staff and put his palms together. "Master Lu, our temple has no intention of interfering with your sect's mystical powers. My purpose of this trip is to spread Buddhist ideals and mystical powers in the southwest. I don't want any resources from your temple." Lu Kuan touched his chin and said, "If that's the case, I can consider it. However, we'll have to wait until Lu is done with the Great Zhou sect's matters." As he spoke, he waved his hand and an exquisite spirit boat appeared in the air. He then said, "That's right, I left a strand of baleful Yin thread in Grandmaster's body. It contains a unique baleful will. As long as Lu wills it, this intent will explode. Although it's not fatal, under its impact, one's soul and body will suffer considerable damage. Master, it's best if you return to Huatian Temple to recuperate. Lu might pay you a visit. Let's go." Sure, had been staring at the scar on the top of the two monks' heads. Her eyeballs were rolling, and no one knew what she was thinking. When she heard Lu Kuan's call, she responded and landed on the spirit boat in a flash. She made a series of hand seals and controlled the flying boat to speed into the distance. When Ji Yuan heard Lu Kuan's words, he was shocked. He used his divine sense to sense carefully and found an almost invisible silver ball of blood in the wound on Lu Kuan's chest. Within the condensed blood qi, there was a faint trace of will power that emitted a ferocious aura. It seems to contain the aura of the true demon intent, but it also seems like a pure murderous intent. Could it be that Master Lu has already comprehended the intent and is half a step into the soul formation stage? Ji Yuan's dermic powers surged and healed the wound. However, he did not dare to touch the small ball of blood inside. "Master, what should we do now? Should we go back?" At this moment, the little monk, Zicheng, shrunk his neck and asked weakly. Although he was hiding behind Ji Yuan and wasn't injured, the terrifying aura from the battle just now really scared him. The other party was able to injure his late nascent soul stage master so easily. He was probably even more powerful than their abbot. Ji Yuan did not answer. Instead, he looked at the flying boat in the distance and suddenly thought of something. Master Lu said that he was here to settle some matters. Could it be that he wants to take revenge on the great Zhou dynasty? His expression changed slightly. A golden light enveloped the little monk, and he turned into a ray of light that shot into the sky. The divine sense of a grand cultivator surged into the distance. "Master Lu, please wait for me." Chapter 11:23. Dangling City was the largest cultivator market in Ningxue Prefecture. It was built on a plain and was hundreds of miles wide. It was shrouded in layers of complicated spirit-gathering formations. It was adjacent to the Tongtian River to the south and a magnificent river to the east. This river was the only tributary of the Tongtian River. It was thousands of miles wide and flowed out from the Tongtian River, spreading throughout the entire Great Zhou dynasty. The main river led to the broken country to the north of the Great Zhou dynasty. It was the remains of the ancient Yuan sect, so it was called the Guiyuan River. On this day, on the main road of Dangling City, a few figures were strolling around. They were surrounded by a layer of blurry spiritual light. The others could barely see their figures but could not see their faces, let alone hear any sounds. Many cultivators who crossed paths with them were in awe when they sensed the unfathomable spiritual light. They distanced themselves from them for fear of bumping into their seniors. In the blurry spiritual light, the two people in front were a burly man and an old monk in a red cassock. Behind them was a beautiful woman and a young monk. Whenever the woman asked something, the young monk would explain it with a pleasant expression. The Guiyuan River is not full of spatial cracks like the Tongtian River. The only trouble is the spiritual energy storms. The large spirit boats of myriad immortals dock were built to counter such natural disasters. There are many cultivator sects in the Great Zhou dynasty, and there are many dangerous places. The Guiyuan River, which is a river throughout the Great Zhou dynasty, has become an important transportation route. Myriad Immortals Dock was built by the large sects to provide convenience for the cultivators in the various prefectures. The ship of Myriad Immortals Dock will depart in a week. No matter where Master Lu goes, it will be much faster to take the ship. As Lu Kuan listened to Monk Ji Yuan's introduction, he observed the scene in the market. There were hundreds of cultivators bustling around, and the talismans and magical artifacts they were selling were all of excellent quality. The Great Zhou dynasty's cultivation world was clearly much more prosperous. Lu Kuan said slowly, "Along the way, I'll have to trouble Grandmaster to explain the situation of the Great Zhou dynasty. Within a year, I will definitely pay a visit to Huatian Temple. If that thread of baleful energy has not been dissolved, Lu will help Grandmaster remove it." Hearing Lu Kuan's words, Ji Yuan knew that he couldn't shamelessly accompany him. He took out a jade pendant with the words Huatian Temple engraved on it. There was also a vague image of a Buddha drawn on the back. Ji Yuan solemnly said, "This is the token of our temple's esteemed guest, the spiritual Buddha jade. Master Lu, please accept it. As long as you present this jade, our temple's disciples will receive you with the highest standards." Lu Kuan took the jade pendant, cupped his hands and said, "Then let's part here. We'll meet again someday." Ji Yuan hesitated for a moment before he put his palms together and said, "Great Spirit Overlord Buddha, although I don't know why Master Lu has come to Great Zhou, I still hope that Master Lu will kill less people." Lu Kuan said calmly, "Grandmaster, you don't have to worry about this. Goodbye." After he finished speaking, He and Serene-Er's figures flashed and turned into a few afterimages, quickly disappearing from the street. Ji Yuan looked into the distance and sighed softly. Master Lu is determined. I didn't expect such a terrifying force to appear in the southwest. Ziqing, leave the temple on your own later. I'll take my leave first. I have to inform Senior Brother Abbot about this as soon as possible. The little monk said obediently, Yes, Master. I hope that the few sects in Great Zhou can coexist peacefully with the body-refining pavilion. The shattered nation is about to open. It's unwise to have a conflict at this time. After muttering a few words, the old monk took 2 steps. His figure blurred a few times before he disappeared from the street as well. The little monk looked around and scratched his head. He then walked towards a pavilion called the Drunken Immortal Pavilion, not far away. Lu Kuan and Serene turned a few corners. When they appeared again, they had changed their appearances. Lu Kuan turned into a skinny bald man. Although Serene did not have the ability to change her muscles, she could restrain her blood and dry her skin. She turned into an old woman with a withered face. The two of them walked for a while and arrived in front of a small, inconspicuous house. Above the wooden door, there was a green plaque with 3 crooked words written on it, Dark Spirit Pavilion. This should be the place where the little monk told you to buy and sell information. Let's go in. Serene coughed twice. Her body emitted a trace of energy. She pushed the door open and walked in first. Lu Kuan followed behind. He only had the mana of the peak of the Foundation establishment stage. He looked like a little follower. After entering, the two's eyes lit up slightly. There seemed to be a different world inside. It was much bigger than the house outside. Clearly, it had used a spatial spell formation. The area was about 100 feet long and wide. It was divided into small tea rooms. The screens were covered with thick spiritual light. It was some kind of profound isolation spell formation. Fellow Taoists, welcome to the Dark Spirit Pavilion. A middle-aged man came forward. Qing you may leave. This fellow has a high cultivation. I will personally welcome him. The middle-aged man bowed and left. From a house in the middle, an old man with a long beard walked out. The spiritual light in his body was dense. He was in the early stage of the nascent soul stage. Lu Kuan, who was behind Serene, was slightly stunned. He did not expect that a branch of the Dark Spirit Pavilion would have a nascent soul stage cultivator. How should I address you, fellow cultivator? I am the elder of the Dark Spirit Pavilion, Huofeng. The long-bearded old man cupped his hands. Serene said lightly, My surname is Qi. The long-bearded old man did not care about her cold attitude. There were many strange people who had cultivated to the nascent soul stage. So it's fellow cultivator Qi. Please come this way. The old man led Serene to a room in the depths. He said, This tea room is specially prepared for nascent soul stage cultivators. Other than the restriction screen, the stone walls are all made of broken dragon stone. It is very safe. After they walked in, there were only 2 seats and a tea table. Serene sat on a rattan chair while Lu Kuan stood behind her. The long-bearded old man brewed a pot of tea and said, Fellow cultivator Qi, are you buying or selling information? Serene said with a hoarse voice, I am buying information about the Supreme Profound Sect. The more detailed, the better. It would be best if there is information about their nascent soul stage cultivators going out. The long-bearded old man looked at Serene with surprise and said, The Supreme Profound Sect is now the 4th largest sect in the Great Zhou dynasty. The price of their information is not low. Let's take a look first. The old man nodded. Several spiritual lights appeared in his hand and hit a miniature spell formation on the tea table. A moment later, a spiritual light flashed and a jade slip appeared. The long-bearded old man said, Fellow cultivator, take a look at the specific information. The price is 50,000 mid-grade spirit stones. Hearing the price, even though Lu Kuan was rich, he was a bit shocked. This price was enough to buy a powerful magic treasure. This was just information about the supreme profound sect. Then Lu Kuan quietly separated a trace of his divine sense, and checked the jade slip in Serene-Er's hand. However, he didn't notice that the long-bearded old man's hand that was holding the teacup trembled. There was a flash of fear in the depths of his eyes. There was a catalogue inside the jade slip. The supreme profound sect's power distribution, the cultivation of the elders, their relationship with the other sects, and even the talented disciples of the sect were recorded. Under Lu Kuan's instructions, Serene frowned and said, "This price is not a problem. However, do you have any information about a nascent soul cultivator going out on a mission?" The long-bearded old man heard her words and coughed lightly. When it comes to matters involving nascent soul cultivators, the major sects will try their best to cover it up. The top 10 sects are also bound by the Oath Stone. Even if you pay several times more spirit stones, we won't be able to get such information. Serene didn't say much. She took out a storage bag and threw it over. "Fellow cultivator, you are straightforward." The long-bearded old man shot another spiritual light into the miniature spell formation. A moment later, a jade slip was released. Serene caught it in her hand and glanced at it briefly before putting it away. She said with a hoarse voice, "I have information about the Saint Devil sect to sell." The long-bearded old man was just about to exchange some pleasantries when he heard this. He was startled and said, "What is it about?" Serene said indifferently, "Saint Devil sect's first elder Huang Chong and third elder Shui Tianyu. It's related to their lives." The long-bearded old man's expression changed slightly. "Fellow cultivator Qi, if the information is correct and there is enough evidence, the Shadow Pavilion is willing to pay 200,000 mid-tier spirit stones." Serene said indifferently, "Pay 200,000 mid-tier spirit stones first. I will tell you the information. As for the evidence, pay another 300,000. The long-bearded old man's expression changed. He glanced at Lu Kuan behind Serene and gritted his teeth. "Okay, but you have to sign a contract on our oath stone. If the information is false, we will return double the spirit stones." "Okay." The old man took out a white stone and signed the contract. He took out a storage bag and handed it over. "Fellow cultivator Qi, please speak." Serene said indifferently, "Saint Devil sect's Huang Chong and Shui Tianyu are dead." "What?" The long-bearded old man couldn't help but stand up. His expression changed drastically. Even if he was mentally prepared, he didn't expect such shocking news. This was the 5th strongest sect in the Great Zhou dynasty. 2 great cultivators had died at once. This would cause a change in the power of the Wei Kingdom's demon sect. He took a deep breath and said, "Words are no proof. As long as you can show evidence, the pavilion is willing to pay double the spirit stones." Serene waved one hand, and a few shining items appeared in front of her. The long-bearded old man scanned them with his divine sense and murmured, "Saint Devil sect's elder token, Huang Chang's ghost demon axe, and Shui Tianyu's life treasure, dark spirit hammer." Chapter 11:24. Half a day later, Lu Kuan and Serene left the Shadow Pavilion. They blended into the crowd of cultivators and changed their appearances a few more times. "I didn't expect the business of the Great Zhou dynasty to be so prosperous. Just the Shadow Pavilion alone is not weak." Lu Kuan turned into a bald man and sighed in his heart as he walked. According to Huofeng, the Shadow Pavilion had at least 6 nascent soul stage cultivators in every market. Even if they were all early nascent soul stage cultivators, they could still be considered a top sect in the Chu country. But in the Great Zhou dynasty, the Shadow Pavilion could barely be considered an upper-middle level force. The Saint Devil sect is located in the Yunlu state in the northeast of the Great Zhou dynasty. It's a long way and will take a lot of time to get there. It's better to release the news first and let the competitors suppress them first. Lu Kuan scanned the jade slips in the rib with his spiritual sense and showed a satisfied expression. With his status, he didn't lack spiritual stones at all. Instead, the news provided by the Shadow Pavilion was very important to him. He locked onto one of the jade slips with his spiritual sense. I was wondering why the Xian sect didn't do anything. So the soul formation stage cultivators of the Great Zhou dynasty went to check it out. As for the other elders of the Xian sect, after finding out that Peng Yuanhua and the others died, they probably didn't have the courage to go to the southwest. Lu Kuan lowered his head and thought, according to the news from the Shadow Pavilion, the opening of the Broken Kingdom might be delayed by 60 years, which is 100 years later. The soul formation stage cultivators of the Great Zhou dynasty will all go to the Broken Kingdom. But in the next 100 years, the old man of the Xian sect will have time to cause trouble for the body refining pavilion. His first stop will be the Great Yuan state where the Xian sect is located. If he loses more than half of his nascent soul stage elders, I don't believe that old man will dare to leave the sect. After strolling around the makeshift market for a while, Lu Kuan and Serene went to rent a temporary cave. The Cultivator Cave in Dangling City was located in the center of the city. The spirit-gathering formation here was quite exquisite. Besides gathering spirit chi, it also attracted demonic chi from the heaven stream. Whether it was an immortal cultivator or a demonic cultivator, they all had suitable cave dwellings to cultivate in. As for Lu Kuan, he rented a mixed cave dwelling that gathered demonic energy. Because he only rented it for 5 days, he had to spend a considerable amount of spirit stones. After Lu Kuan entered the cave, he used his divine sense to investigate. After finding that there were no problems, he asked, the blood essence in your body has been transformed these days, right? Serene nodded and said, Er's blood has recovered, and the total amount is a bit more than last time. Lu Kuan sensed the situation in his body and slowly said, It seems that it's just as I expected. There's a gap of 1 month between each treatment. Let's begin. 1 week is a little tight. As he spoke, he led Serene into the cave mansion's secret cultivation room. It was a square room with a dragon head carved into the left and right sides of the room. Pure devil chi and spiritual chi were coming out of the room. The two of them sat cross-legged in the middle. Serene condensed a ball of pale silver blood and sent it into Lu Kuan's mouth. The latter slowly circulated the life force in his body. After his last attempt, Lu Kuan had already found a way to deal with the mutant will. First, he had to fuse the aura of the netherworm holy relic with a small portion of his life force. Originally, he had planned to just draw this aura into his internal organs and not fuse it. But later, he discovered that once the aura of the holy relic was separated from the blood essence, it would not be controlled by Lu Kuan. He could not effectively block the mutant will, so he needed to use his life force to completely absorb it. Thinking back to the last time, Lu Kuan had sent a portion of his life force to his liver. Then, under the effect of the condensation technique, the organ had turned into a pool of visceral essence. It was like a ball of squirming blood that hung in the blood vessels. Lu Kuan used his body and divine sense to control the life force, causing it to circulate through the liver's essence. Serene's blood had already been transported to the nearby blood vessels. The life force in the liver absorbed the energy of the blood essence, and the strange aura of the holy relic was also integrated. The netherworm holy relic was, after all, an item of a foreign race. Lu Kuan did not dare to completely absorb it, so he found a way to separate and circulate the life force. He could let it circulate in an internal organ and absorb the essence blood. This method could not increase the life force because there was no big circulation, but it could absorb the aura of the holy relic. As time passed, Serene sent more and more blood, and the liver's essence was filled with an inexplicable aura. The two hidden mutant wills had long been revealed, wandering in places where the life force could not reach. Finally, the aura of the holy relic in the life force reached its peak. Lu Kuan's mind moved, and this special energy surrounded him from all directions, forming a pale white hemisphere that squeezed the two mutant wills. The two wills had nowhere to retreat, and they did not seem to want to leave the liver, so they directly collided with the life force. Boom! A shock wave of consciousness, with the liver as the center, exploded in the 5 viscera and 6 bowels. Lu Kuan's face was ferocious, and all his divine sense retreated into his spine, resisting the convulsions of his internal organs. He mobilized a large amount of blood essence into his internal organs, looking for something in this shock wave of consciousness. After a few breaths, the shock wave of consciousness gradually dissipated, and the two mutant wills in the liver hid again. At this time, the life force in the liver had disappeared, and the surrounding blood essence surged, condensing into 5 or 6 indiscernible silver balls of blood. There was a trace of will mixed with a murderous aura in them, and it was transported to the root of the fingernail. Lu Kuan felt that a small part of the mutant wills had been reduced, and his expression relaxed. This healing method was accidentally discovered last time. Originally, he wanted to use this special life force to force the mutant wills out of the body, and then use the blood crystallization method to seal them. However, at the last moment, the mutant wills did not choose to leave the internal organs, but to perish together with the life force. The shock wave of consciousness in the body just now was the result of the mutual destruction between the life force that contained the aura of the holy relic and the mutant wills. If Lu Kuan did not have the divine soul concealment ability, this shock wave would have severely damaged his divine soul. This shock wave of consciousness was also strange. It did not affect the other parts of the body, but it caused a lot of damage to the internal organs. The degree of damage was only slightly less than the backlash of the 1 yuan force. In addition to this shock wave, there was also a strange remnant of will that leaked out. It seemed to be a mixture of the aura of the holy relic and the two wills at the same time, and it was extremely unstable. Fortunately, it could be sealed by the blood essence. This was what Lu Kuan called the murderous Yin thread, which was injected into Ji Yuan's body. As long as the blood essence seal was released, the unstable energy inside would cause a slight shock wave of consciousness. The combination of the murderous Yin thread and his fingernails would become a powerful divine ability. Lu Kuan concluded that the essential part of the healing method was Serene blood. Unfortunately, although her blood essence was pure, compared to a physique cultivator's, it was too weak. It was only enough for him to absorb 5 rounds of life force. The silver-armored corpse's body could not produce blood. It needed to absorb Lu Kuan's blood essence, and then use the corpse core to transform it. This process required a certain amount of time. With the strength of Lu Kuan's internal organs, he could barely withstand the final shock wave of consciousness 4 times. After that, he would have to consume his life force to nourish it. Destroying the mutant wills also consumed his life force. This special energy could only be recovered through his blood essence. Therefore, every time he healed, Lu Kuan's blood essence would be consumed by more than half. It would take at least a month to recover. According to the number of mutant wills he destroyed each time, he would need to heal 5 more times. In half a year, he would be able to completely eliminate the mutant wills. Lu Kuan did not dare to wait half a year. If he delayed, the old man of the Supreme Profound Sect would come out, and that would be troublesome. Therefore, he brought Serene with him to the great Zhou dynasty. Lu Kuan let out a breath of turbid air. Feeling the strength of his internal organs, he said with some surprise, Now that I'm prepared, my internal organs seem to be able to withstand one more round. Let's continue. Yes, Pavilion Master. Chapter 11:25. A week later, at the eastern ferry of Dangling City, a huge object stopped steadily in the raging river. It was a huge spirit boat about 300 meters long and 200 meters wide. Its entire body was made of some kind of purple metal material. Complex spirit patterns were engraved on it, and the aura of a formation was faintly discernible, making people's hearts palpitate. There was a 4-story building on the spirit ship. The bottom floor was close to the deck, and there were nearly 1,000 small rooms inside. There were 1/3 fewer rooms on the upper floor. There were only 30 or so exquisite rooms on the 4th floor. Lu Kuan and Serene sat by the window of a room on the 4th floor and looked down at the huge spirit ship. Serene exclaimed, "There are too many cultivators here. There are more than 1,000 people in one trip." Lu Kuan said, "Ningshui State is close to the Heaven Pass River. There is a lot of demonic qi in the heaven and earth spiritual qi, so the cultivation environment is relatively bad. Yet, there are so many cultivators here. No wonder the Great Zhou dynasty is the most prosperous region in the cultivation world." Not long after, the spirit boat trembled slightly and slowly floated up. Mysterious restrictive power appeared on the outside of the boat, and it was moving toward the north. Its speed was still increasing. Looking at the restriction light outside, Lu Kuan turned around and said, "That's right. Study the blood condensation technique. If you can condense the corpse qi armor into your bones through blood, your strength will improve." Serene nodded and closed her eyes to study the secret technique Lu Kuan gave her a few days ago. The silver-armored corpse was formed from a corpse and didn't have some of the body functions of a human. Although its body was strong, it was different from a body cultivator like Lu Kuan. Its toughest part was not its bones, but its flesh. The flesh of a level 9 silver-armored corpse had been refined by the corpse core for so many years. Its defense was amazing. Serene also had the support of Lu Kuan's essence blood, so it was very flexible and could absorb stronger impacts. With such a flesh defense, Serene's newly comprehended corpse qi armor was redundant in terms of defense. However, the extended bone spurs could increase its attack power. However, because the bones of the silver-armored corpses were weaker than flesh and blood, the impact of the bone spurs and claws was limited. If they were too strong, they would hurt the bones instead. Lu Kuan's idea was to leave only the bone spikes in the corpse qi armor, and transfer the rest of the corpse qi to the depths of the bones to increase the strength of the bones. The levitating ability of the level 9 silver-armored corpse could support up to 500,000 jin of force. Its hard bones could withstand the reaction force of the bone spikes and sharp claws. Together with the Yin energy and corpse aura, this was the best way for Serene to fight. However, for the silver-armored corpses, corpse aura wasn't that easy to restrain. Only Lu Kuan's blood condensation technique could condense all of the corpse aura and move it to a designated location. While Serene was comprehending the secret technique, a jade slip appeared in Lu Kuan's hand, and he started reading it carefully. Supreme Elder of the Xian sect, Gu Deming. Would attribute celestial spiritual root. Core formation at the age of 80. Nascent soul at the age of 200. Late nascent soul at the age of 400. Less than 700 years old. He triggered a phenomenon in the qi of heaven and earth and tried to break through to the spirit-severing realm. Suspected of being hindered by the Blue Cloud sect, he failed in his first attempt. A few years ago, Gu Deming, at the age of 900, took advantage of the time when the spirit-severing realm cultivators of the 3 major sects were heading to the Broken Country to break through the bottleneck in the withered spirit swamp in the Diyuan continent, where the spiritual energy was scarce. He successfully broke through and became the 3rd spirit-severing realm cultivator in the history of the Xian sect. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with amazement as he read the information inside. This supreme elder of the Xian sect not only had a terrifying aptitude, but also a terrifying patience. In order to break through to the spirit-severing realm in the Great Zhou dynasty, in addition to the shackles of the cultivation bottleneck, one also had to guard against the interference of other spirit-severing realm cultivators. Not only did Gu Deming have the potential to break through, but he had also endured for more than 200 years. Lu Kuan's face was gloomy. The information about the body refining pavilion had been known by the other party. Such a person would never give up on what he wanted. It was just a matter of time. The treasure of the Xian sect, the chaotic essence sword, a divine spirit treasure, made by the second spirit-severing realm cultivator in the history of the Xian sect. Its power is unknown. His face became more and more gloomy. He found some information from Peng Yuanhua's memory. That Xian Qing ruler was made by Gu Deming before he broke through to the spirit-severing realm by imitating the chaotic essence sword. From this, it could be seen that this old man was absolutely proficient in using the chaotic essence sword. I used the full nascent soul power to barely use the Qi manifestation technique of the spirit-severing realm. With the help of the divine spirit treasure, this old man's power must be far beyond my best state. Within the range of the Qi of heaven and earth that he controls, I am definitely no match for him. If I lead him to an environment where the Qi of heaven and earth is scarce, I might be able to exchange a few moves with him. Lu Kuan calmed down and continued reading. The Grand Elder of the Xian sect, Mo Hongkai, formed his gold core when he was 100 years old, entered the nascent soul stage when he was 200 years old, and entered the late nascent soul stage when he was 700 years old. After spending some time to read all the information in the jade slip, Lu Kuan slowly exhaled. Combined with the scattered information in Peng Yuanhua's soul, he had a comprehensive understanding of the Xian sect. Even if they lost Peng Yuanhua and several nascent soul elders, the remaining strength of the Xian sect was beyond imagination. There were still 3 grand cultivators and 30 nascent soul cultivators. I don't know what other techniques the spirit-severing realm cultivators have other than the Qi manifestation technique. I must be careful. If there is a chance. At this moment, Lu Kuan's expression changed. With a flash of spiritual light, a black jade slip appeared in his hand and his spiritual sense penetrated it. Fellow Taoist Qi, we just received news that a Qi tide has appeared in the Red Cloud Mountains of the Diyuan state. It is suspected that a supreme-grade spirit stone has appeared. Although this mountain is not under the influence of the Xian sect, they will definitely send nascent soul cultivators. If fellow Taoist Qi is going, it would be best to arrive within 3 days. Fellow Taoist Qi is looking for the spirit treasure imitation technique. Only the former 7 great sects of the Great Zhou dynasty may have it. Another piece of news. The spatial anomaly in the Broken Kingdom has calmed down. The spirit-severing realm cultivators of the major sects may have returned. Now that the news has been delivered, we don't owe each other anything. If fellow Taoist Qi has other confidential information, please continue to cooperate with us. After hearing this, the black jade slip dimmed again. Lu Kuan frowned and another jade slip appeared in his hand. It was a map of the Great Zhou dynasty. Our current location is the Guiyuan River between the Ningxue state and the Huatian state. The Diyuan state is to the north. The Diyuan state was the largest state in the Great Zhou dynasty. It was located on the west bank of the Guiyuan River, and was as vast as the state of Qi and the state of Chu combined. It was long and stretched all the way to the Broken Kingdom in the north. The Qi of heaven and earth in this state was extremely pure. Apart from the Xian sect, which was the 4th most powerful sect in the Great Zhou dynasty, the Blue Cloud sect, which was the 2nd most powerful sect in the Great Zhou dynasty, was also located here. There were dozens of other sects, big and small, scattered along the Guiyuan River. Lu Kuan followed the map and soon found the location of the Red Cloud Mountains. He couldn't help but frown. The Red Cloud Mountains are so close to the Xian sect's territory. The Red Cloud Mountains was only a medium-level spirit vein. Although it was not under the influence of the Xian sect, it was only separated by a few small sections. Lu Kuan followed the map and found the Withered Souls swamp. His face was a bit gloomy. The method to break through to the pseudo-spirit severing realm requires the chi of heaven and earth from a large area. If the Withered Souls swamp is the core, the Red Cloud Mountains seem to be within the range of the chi of heaven and earth. The chi of heaven and earth is stored in the supreme-grade spirit stones, which can increase the chances of breaking through to the nascent soul realm. The Xian sect definitely won't let go of such a treasure. The Red Cloud Mountains are far away from the Blue Cloud sect. There are no opponents of the same level there. Gu Deming shouldn't be involved in such a small matter. Chapter 11:26. The Blood Beast sect was located in the northeast of the Zhou dynasty, in the Yunlu state. It was the seventh sect in the Zhou dynasty, and was ranked behind the Saint Devil sect in terms of strength. Besides being proficient in many demonic arts, they were especially good at cultivating demonic beasts. On this day, in a cave deep in the Blood Beast sect, a naked middle-aged man with strange runes engraved on his body was soaking in a square pool. The pool was filled with a thick black liquid that reached almost the height of the man's waist, and it kept seeping into his body. As time passed, the man's body became more and more majestic. Purple-black scales appeared on the surface of his skin, and an iron whip-like tail grew behind him. A sharp horn faintly protruded from his forehead. The black liquid kept sinking, and a skinny, lion-like beast appeared in the pool. It was crawling at the bottom of the pool with its eyes closed, as if it had fallen asleep. After the pool was exhausted, the middle-aged man had turned into a half-beast, half-human creature. He had strong muscles, hard scales, and a black horn on his head, exuding a strong chi energy. He closed his eyes, as if he was sensing something. After an unknown amount of time, a red light suddenly burst out from his body, and a trace of black liquid was expelled from the gaps of his scales. The scales on his body, the tail behind him gradually dissipated, and even his majestic body shrank. The blood-red runes on his body dimmed and disappeared from his skin. The liquid that was expelled turned into a thick line of water that squeezed into the mouth and nose of the skinny lion. Its body quickly swelled up and was somewhat similar to the man's previous appearance. It had purple scales and black horns, but it was still in a deep sleep. After a while, the middle-aged man opened his eyes. He slowly floated up and landed outside the pool. He was the current Blood Beast sect's great elder, Tu Lingzi. Tu Lingzi recalled the scene of the fusion and pondered. No wonder the seniors in the sect wrote that one must cultivate the Blood Beast Heart Sutra to the late stage of the nascent soul stage before using this secret technique. If not for the protection of a strong demonic power, I'm afraid my body would have been swallowed by that chi energy. Tu Lingzi looked at the sleeping demonic beast and frowned. Although this kind of so-called vitality demonic beast can be cultivated quickly, no matter how much flesh and blood it is fed, even the flesh of a level 8 or level 9 demonic beast can't break through the threshold of level 8. Under the influence of this spiritual adhesion secret technique, I can only temporarily raise my magical body to the level of a magical beast of the 7th rank. Even though my mystic arts have increased by quite a bit, it's still not too much of a threat to a grand cultivator. It's just that the defense of my physical body has increased. But if I can raise my physical body to the level of a magical beast of the 8th rank, then things will be different. Thinking of this, a spirit light flashed in Tu Lingzi's hand, and a piece of animal skin appeared. There was a hidden spirit light flashing on it, and many words were printed on it. According to the Ancestor's records, Yuan School once had a branch of disciples who specialized in body-refining methods, but this power method was extremely imperfect. Some of those disciples have cultivated into monsters that are neither human nor demon. Some have turned into demonic zombies and lost their consciousness. The strongest among them is only at the peak of the core formation realm. As a disciple of Yuan School who raised demonic beasts, Our sect's ancestor created this spiritual adhesion technique with the help of this incomplete body refining method. If a core formation realm or nascent soul realm cultivator can use it, our sect's strength can be raised to a higher level. But if only a grand cultivator can use it, its value will be greatly reduced. Tu Lingzi's eyes flashed, revealing a puzzled expression. Why didn't the ancestor pass down the body refining method? Is it because it's a path that can't be taken, and he didn't want to distract the future disciples? I, Tu Lingzi, have amazing aptitude, not inferior to the founder of the sect. If I have the body refining method of Yuan school, maybe I can perfect the spiritual adhesion technique. Thinking of this, Tu Lingzi looked at the animal skin in his hand. The cultivation places of Yuan school's body refining lineage are in the demonic beast garden and the devil refining cave. There may be a body refining method left behind. But where are these two places? Except for the ancient battlefield, the rest of the broken country has been explored. Could it be that they were sucked into a space crack? At this moment, Tu Lingzi suddenly raised his eyebrows. His hands formed a demonic seal, and a jade slip flew in from outside the cave. It was blooming with a red light. Obviously, it was some kind of urgent matter. Great Elder, the Shadow Pavilion sold an important news. Huang Chong and Shuetianyo's souls have been destroyed, and at the same time, 10 nascent soul realm elders have died. The strength of Saint Devil sect has greatly decreased. How can it be? Tu Lingzi lost his voice, but then he closed his mouth. There were images attached at the back of the jade slip. It was the token and life treasure of the 2 Saint Devil sect great cultivators, and the image of the traces of refining. His expression changed for a while, and then he gradually calmed down. Life treasure and token can't be faked, but just in case, it's better to test it. If Saint Devil sect's strength has greatly decreased, we may have to plan well. That demonic dragon blade is a demonic treasure that can be used by demonic cultivators. If we have such a treasure as a deterrent, our blood beast sect will have a chance to produce a spirit-severing cultivator. A series of thoughts flashed through his mind. Tu Lingzi waved one hand and kept the demonic beast in the pool. He turned into a ray of light and flew out of the cave. The ancient spirit state to the west of the Cloud Dew state was the second demonic area in the Great Zhou dynasty. It was the third-ranked sect, and also the number 1 sect of the demonic path, the Prime Devil sect. On this day, in the Prime Devil sect's meeting hall, 4 immortal cultivators sat together. Each of them emitted an extremely dense demonic energy wave. They were all late nascent soul realm cultivators. The leader, a horse-faced old man, said, "Junior brothers, you've already heard the news. What do you think?" A charming middle-aged woman said excitedly, "This is a great opportunity. If there's a way to get the demonic dragon blade, our sect's reputation will be greatly boosted. Our combined strength might even surpass the Blue Cloud sect. This way we can fight for a few more spots in the ancient battlefield." Another dark-skinned young man frowned and said slowly, "Senior Sisterly, if our sect fights across regions, those bald donkeys led by the Huatian Temple will definitely join in. That will give the Saint Devil sect a chance to breathe. The demonic dragon blade is not a normal divine spirit treasure. It hasn't been used for 1,000 years. It must have accumulated a large amount of chaotic demonic energy. If its power is fully unleashed, even Senior Uncle might not be willing to take it head-on." The middle-aged woman raised her eyebrows and said, "Then Junior Brother Han means that we should give up this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity?" The dark-skinned young man shook his head and said, "Of course not. Although we can't do it openly, we can secretly support the other demonic sections. The Blood Beast sect won't join forces with us, but the other demonic sects are different. Among these demonic sects, there are 2 great cultivators. If they have the help of a spirit treasure replica, their strength will be greatly increased. Even if these people get the demonic dragon blade, they won't be able to keep it. It's better to divide the Saint Devil sect's territory and resources with our support. The horse-faced old man nodded lightly and said, Junior Brother Han, I'll leave the matter of dealing with the Saint Devil sect to you. I've already reported this matter to Senior Uncle. If Senior Uncle does it himself, then nothing will go wrong. The dark-skinned young man cupped his hands and said, Yes, Senior Brother. He then hesitated and said, If Senior Uncle does it himself, then the old monk Zhiyuan from the Huatian temple, will he? The horse-faced old man waved his hand and said, Senior Uncle will make his own judgment. We don't need to worry. Then he looked at the last black-haired old man who didn't speak and threw a jade scroll over. Junior Brother Wang, I spent some extra spirit stones to exchange for this image from the Shadow Pavilion. The black-haired old man took the jade scroll and scanned it with his spirit sense. What he saw was the image of a skinny bald man and a withered old woman. The information about the Saint Devil sect was provided by these two people. They even took out Huang Chong and Shuetianyo's life treasure. The old woman is at the middle stage of the nascent soul stage, and she cultivates some kind of Yin attribute skill. The skinny man is a great cultivator. The Jade Scroll also has traces of Huang Chong and Xue Tianyu in the past 100 years. It's strange that so many people from the Saint Devil sect died. Go and investigate the reason. Yes, Senior Brother. Chapter 11:27. In the southeast of the Dayuan state, there was a wide mountain range with a low flat top that stretched for dozens of miles. There weren't many plants here and its location was very strange. As long as you were in the mountain, you could see the red sunset at dusk. It was called Mount Qixia. The spirit qi in MT Crimson was not obvious, but it was a medium-level spirit vein that contained many spirit stone mines. It was jointly occupied by two small sections. The mountain was surrounded by a layer of pale white mist, and the spirit qi inside was surging. It was a kind of high-level restriction. On this day, 10 miles away from MT Crimson, there were 3 looming figures flying in the sky. A few nascent soul stage cultivators were communicating with each other. One of the women said, Big Brother, aren't we taking too much risk this time? The supreme grade spirit stone is obviously something that Taishan sect must get. If we fight them head-on, a gentle male voice interrupted. Second sister, Big Brother has a level 7 armored earth dragon, which is born with the ability to find treasures. It's very likely that we'll find the supreme grade spirit stone first. Even if the supreme profound sect discovers the astonishing spiritual energy unearthed, the 3 of us will be able to escape safely with our combined speed, which is slightly faster than a grand cultivator. The woman said worriedly, But Taishan sect has soul formation cultivators. Maybe they have ways to find the supreme grade spirit stone. If, a deep male voice interrupted, if Taishan sect finds the supreme grade spirit stone first, we will retreat immediately, second sister. This Tai spiritual talisman can completely hide our presence. As long as we don't fight, even a grand cultivator won't be able to detect us. It ensures our safety. The gentle voice said again, Second sister, relax. We took advantage of Blue Cloud sect before. Didn't we get away with it? The deep male voice sighed. Second sister, you may not know the miraculous use of a top-grade spirit stone. Aside from the extremely pure spiritual energy, it also contains a strand of pure spiritual energy of the world. Only through this kind of spirit stone can a nascent soul stage cultivator absorb the spiritual energy of the world. That's a high-grade energy that a soul formation cultivator can absorb. After a nascent soul cultivator absorbs it, not only can it increase their affinity with the spiritual qi of heaven and earth, it also has a special nourishing effect on the body of a cultivator. Big Brother, I've suffered many injuries. The hidden injuries of my conjured physique can only be healed by top-grade spirit stones. There was a hint of excitement in his voice as he said, With this, My chances of becoming a great cultivator have increased by 30%. The other two's spirits were lifted. We will definitely help Big Brother. The deep male voice paused for a moment before continuing. Today is the third day of the Supreme Grade Spirit Stones phenomenon. Its pure spirit chi will gradually be exposed. As long as we fly 2 circles at a low altitude, the armored Earth Dragon will be able to detect it. Don't casually expose your divine sense. Use your spirit divine ability to observe the surroundings. I'll activate the Void Spirit Talisman and enter the restriction here. Yes, Big Brother. The 3 of them turned invisible and descended towards the flat mountain range below. Their flying speed was also reduced. An indiscernible spiritual light flashed, and they entered the white mist without causing any unnecessary fluctuations. However, the 3 of them didn't realize that in the sky above MT Crimson, outside the mist restriction, there was an invisible burly figure looking in their direction. It was Lu Kuan. He had arrived near MT Crimson half a day ago and didn't sneak into the mountain range. This spirit vein was only about 30 miles. Without using his divine sense, he could see everything with his golden eye divine ability. Ever since he used the golden eye divine light to kill Saint Devilsex Huangchong, the divine ability of his eyes had improved by another level. Although the restriction below the mountain range was powerful, it was still far from the level of a forbidden formation. He could clearly see the cultivators searching for spirit stones in the mountain range within the white mist. I didn't expect the top-grade spirit stone to attract so many high-level cultivators. This is already the 3rd wave. However, I'm afraid that guy has already noticed this. As this thought flashed through his mind, Lu Kuan looked towards the only peak of MT Crimson. That was where the restriction of MT Crimson was controlled. There were several figures standing there. One of them was extremely powerful. He was in the late stage of the nascent soul realm. Lu Kuan's lips curled into a smile. Since the Supreme Profundity sect had sent out a grand cultivator, he had achieved the goal of this trip. This person's spiritual power is lower than Peng Yuanhua's. It won't be difficult to kill him by force. However, this is Gu Deming's divine transformation realm territory. He might be able to sense the changes in the chi of heaven and earth. I might as well wait for the top-grade spirit stone to appear. When these people are fighting each other, I will find a chance to kill them in one strike. It would be best if I don't activate the chi of heaven and earth. At this moment, Lu Kuan suddenly sent out a message from one of his ribs. His expression became strange as he looked towards the north. You said you sensed the presence of a fellow cultivator? It's one thing for a nascent soul realm cultivator to come, but there's a silver-armored corpse and the Xian sect. That guy seems to be wrapped in a layer of corpse chi armor. Dozens of miles away, a silver creature was flying in the air. It was covered in dark silver scales. Its face was a bit like an ape's, and it had a mouthful of sharp fangs. There were no eyeballs in its eyes, which were completely blank. However, there was a faint golden spiritual light flashing in its eyes. On the back of this ferocious-looking monster were 2 silver wings that were 7 to 8 feet long. They emitted a bright silver light. However, its body was wrapped in a layer of blurry light, which seemed to be some kind of illusion technique that concealed its body. As it got closer and closer to MT Crimson, the skin between the monster's eyes began to wrinkle. Its eagle-like hands scratched its head, as if it was confused and doubtful. After a while, it shook its head and sped up. As if it had turned into a breeze, it silently merged into the clouds and restrictions of MT Crimson. On top of MT Crimson stood a sage-like old man. He wore a long blue robe and had a yellow gourd at his waist. He held a formation plate in his hand. There was a blue arrow on it that was trembling slightly, as if it couldn't find its direction. This old man was the 3rd elder of the Xian sect, Taoist Qingyang. Behind him stood 5 people. 2 of them were mid-stage nascent soul realm cultivators and 3 were early-stage nascent soul realm cultivators. Taoist Qingyang looked down at MT Crimson and sneered. I didn't expect the appearance of the supreme-grade spirit stone to attract so many old guys. With this formation plate made by Uncle Master, other treasure-seeking techniques are not worth mentioning at all. He said lightly, Junior Brother Feng, have you set up the formation plate I gave you before? A mid-stage nascent soul realm cultivator behind him nodded. It's ready. It can be activated at any time. Taoist Qingyang's eyes flashed coldly. When the supreme-grade spirit stone appears, immediately activate the formation and catch all the nascent soul realm cultivators here. Yes, Senior Brother. Taoist Qingyang looked at the 2 early-stage nascent soul realm cultivators standing at the back and said slowly, Fellow Taoist Song, Fairy Qin, what do you think of my previous suggestion? The middle-aged man he looked at smiled bitterly. The Green Feather Temple is willing to leave the West Coast Alliance and join the Xian sect. The other good-looking young woman sighed. The Spirit Moon Workshop also agrees to join the Xian sect. I hope Taoist Qingyang can help us more in the future. Taoist Qingyang stroked his beard and said, This is a wise decision. After the official merger, I will apply for 2 green essence pills from the Grand Elder. With these pills and the exquisite secret technique of our sect, you 2 have a chance to enter the mid-stage nascent soul realm. Thank you, Taoist Qingyang. When the 2 heard about the green essence pills, they were pleasantly surprised and quickly thanked him. Taoist Qingyang was quite satisfied with their reaction. He was about to say something when the formation plate in his hand suddenly made a buzzing sound. The swaying green arrow on it pointed southwest. He was delighted. The aura of the supreme-grade spirit stone has appeared. Chapter 11:28. Wait, something's not right. Taoist Qingyang stared at the formation plate in his hand and saw that the green arrowhead was abnormally bright. This level of reaction is very likely 2 supreme-grade spirit stones. Junior Brother Feng, immediately open the Chaos Space Breaking Array. Yes, Senior Brother. The middle-stage nascent soul cultivator behind him suppressed his excitement and took out a light green formation plate. Several spells were cast into it, and suddenly, dazzling white pillars of light burst out from a dozen directions in MT Crimson. In the depths of the earth veins, streams of extremely pure spiritual energy erupted from these places. The hazy white mist in the mountains immediately condensed and turned into countless finger-thin white threads, densely covering the entire mountain range. At the same time, the figures of many cultivators suddenly appeared in the empty sky. These people were divided into 3 groups, with 2 or 3 people in each group. They were extremely surprised by their own appearance. Not good, this is a trap set by the Xian sect. These people quickly reacted. Their spiritual energy surged, and they fled out of MT Crimson. However, the white mist around them was like countless ropes that wrapped around them layer by layer. The spiritual power on the streak of light couldn't break it, and its speed was greatly reduced. At this time, several figures shot out from the mountain peak in the distance. Their escape light was covered in a layer of strange green and white light, and the mist around them didn't obstruct them at all. Not good, it's Taoist Qingyang leading the group. 1 great cultivator, 2 middle-stage nascent soul cultivators, and 3 early-stage nascent soul cultivators. Why did the Xian sect send out so many people? What kind of formation is this? It's so difficult to deal with. The 3 groups of cultivators looked anxious. They used all kinds of magic treasures and spells to attack the white threads. They didn't know what kind of magic these threads were, but they were extremely tough. Only a middle-stage nascent soul cultivator's attack could cut them quickly. They still couldn't increase their speed. Although the situation was critical, these people didn't plan to join forces. They weren't on the same side. Even if they wanted to join forces, under the home ground of the Xiansex formation, they could only hold on for a while longer. If they flew separately, their chances of escaping were much higher. Taoist Qingyang looked at these people's reactions and sneered. His lips moved twice. The 5 people behind him divided into 2 groups, each led by a middle-stage nascent soul cultivator, and flew in 2 directions. Taoist Qingyang, on the other hand, shone brightly and flew towards the group of 2 men and 1 woman. The expressions of the 3 cultivators changed greatly. They immediately gave up attacking the white thread and combined their escape lights together. A 3-colored spirit light soared into the sky, greatly increasing their speed. However, as they collided with more and more white threads, their speed gradually slowed down. Damn it! This magic array has absorbed some of the world's essence energy. Only grand cultivators would be unaffected by it. Second sister, third brother, we're still 5 kilometers away from the boundary of the formation. Fight and retreat at the same time. Taoist Qingyang alone won't be able to defeat us in a short period of time. Okay, big brother. The 3 of them changed their formation, 1 big and 1 small. 2 exquisite blue shields appeared outside their bodies, and the 2 quickly embedded together. With the shields as the core, a thick shield enveloped the 3 of them. The middle-aged man with the highest cultivation shot out a jade talisman, which turned into a blurry yellow mountain illusion. It enveloped the shield, and an incomparably heavy aura spread out. Then, he took out a pair of light yellow short knives and led the 3 of them to escape from the mountain. At the same time, he bombarded the obstructing white thread. After a while, Taoist Qingyang had already arrived nearby. Seeing this scene, a mocking smile appeared on his face. He made a hand seal, and the green gourd at his waist fell into his hand. His grand cultivator's surging magic power surged out, and a series of hand seals struck the gourd. The small opening on the gourd opened, and the world's essence energy in the surroundings seemed to be attracted by something. Countless layers of light green halos gathered from all directions and poured into the gourd's opening. In the air nearby, there seemed to be the scent of spring, making people feel intoxicated. The 3 nascent soul stage cultivators' expressions showed a moment of confusion. They felt a sense of nourishment and an endless cycle of life. The middle-aged man shook his head and revealed a terrified expression. Essence energy manifestation, willpower. This is a spirit treasure replica. Second sister, third brother, concentrate and resist with all your strength. The other 2 were awakened by this voice that contained magic power. When they heard the words spirit treasure replica, their expressions changed drastically. Their magic power desperately rushed to the big and small blue shields in front of them. The middle-aged man also didn't care about bombarding the surrounding white threads. He put away the short knife magic weapon, and a dark yellow bracelet appeared in his hand. As his hand seal surged, it turned into the size of 10 feet and surrounded the 3 of them. Humph! The 3 fooling siblings actually dared to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. Today, I will use your death to deter the rascals. Taoist Qingyang withdrew his hand seal, and the gourd's opening suddenly burst out with a bright light, and a green sword qi blasted out. At the same time, the nourishment of all things in the air became stronger. The green sword qi quickly merged with the surrounding white threads, and its appearance gradually solidified. It looked like a short sword composed of mysterious runes. The middle-aged man felt the suffocating pressure, and the horror in his eyes became more intense. He gritted his teeth and overdrew the power of his nascent soul. His momentum soared. The dark yellow bracelet outside his body became darker, and a new layer of defensive spirit light emerged. Boom! The sword qi in the shape of a short sword directly bombarded the bracelet in front of the 3 people. The middle-aged man felt an unparalleled fierce sword qi impact. The sword qi inside seemed to be endless, and in an instant, it seemed to have bombarded dozens of rounds. In less than a breath, the bracelet issued a wail, and the spirit light dissipated. The sword chi only dimmed a little, and the mysterious runes on it were still clear. The middle-aged man seemed to think of something, and showed a look of disbelief. Sword chi at the level of Yuan chi manifestation, this is impossible. Supreme Mystery Sect doesn't only have one primordial chaos sword, how can there be a second divine spirit treasure? As he cried out in despair, the sword chi directly exploded, erupting into a dazzling green light ball. There seemed to be countless sword chis stirring crazily inside it. A terrifying pressure of the chi of heaven and earth soared into the sky, and layers of spiritual chi waves surged in all directions. In a moment, the three nascent soul cultivators were blown to dust, and their nascent souls were destroyed in the endless power of the sword chi. Taoist Qingyang held the green gourd with one hand, and a mocking expression appeared on his face. Ignorant people, Mount Crimson is within Martial Uncle's domain, and the surrounding Yuan Chi of heaven and earth contains the power of his will. As long as there is a strand of Martial Uncle's true Yuan, even a replica spirit treasure can display the power of a divine spirit treasure. The nascent soul cultivators in the distance were scared out of their wits after feeling the terrifying Yuan Chi fluctuations. They used all kinds of methods to escape frantically. But under the suppression of the power of the formation and the Supreme Mystery Sect cultivators, their escape speed was extremely slow. Taoist Qingyang waved his sleeve and put away the scattered magic treasures and storage bracelets in front of him, and coldly looked at the panicked cultivators in the distance. Just as he was about to fly over, his expression suddenly changed, and he turned to look in another direction. On a rock 3 miles away, a blurry silver figure had unknowingly appeared, and several misty threads wrapped around its body. But with a gray spirit light, these white threads were broken inch by inch, and then the spirit light blasted the rock under its feet, and an incomparably pure spirit chi gushed out from the cracks in the ground. Taoist Qingyang's expression changed greatly. Who dares to steal my sect's supreme-grade spirit stones? He changed directions and shot toward the silver figure. Chapter 11:29. Taoist Qingyang raised his right hand at the same time, revealing a dark green iron bracelet on his wrist that flashed with light. The mist threads near the silver figure seemed to have received some sort of command and converged, intending to condense the strange figure into a cocoon. The silver figure snorted coldly, and a thick gray whirlwind gushed out from his body. Accompanied by an extremely cold fluctuation, the circle of white threads seemed to have collided with a strong current of air, and was blown away. Taoist Qingyang was finally able to clearly see the silver figure's appearance. It was covered in silver scales and had meter-long fleshy wings. Its dense yin energy was equivalent to that of a great cultivator. His expression turned unsightly. Zhongming Mountain Corpse Monarch, Silver-Winged Night Fiend. The monster called the Silver-Winged Night Fiend ignored Taoist Qingyang and extended its claw-like hand, sending 2 sparkling stones floating up. Don't even think about it. Taoist Qingyang's hand flickered with a spell seal, and the origin gourd spat out a ball of dark green light that entered the iron bracelet on his wrist. In the distance, a layer of pale green light suddenly appeared on the white threads that had been blown away by the wind, directly turning into pale green sword chi. The Night Fiend was alarmed when he sensed the aura. His expression turned grave and his fleshy wings opened and closed, wrapping around his body as a gray whirlwind appeared around him. Boom, 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 like a series of firecrackers, the sword chi infused with the world's origin energy bombarded the scales of the fleshy wings like a storm. The incomparably cold corpse chi collided with the dense sword chi. Waves of invisible chi waves surged in all directions. The 2 sparkling stones that emerged from the cracks in the ground were sent flying by the ferocious chi wave. Taoist Qingyang was several dozen meters away from the Night Fiend when the 2 supreme-grade spirit stones happened to be flying toward him. He was stunned for a moment before revealing a joyful expression. He waved his sleeve and put away the two treasures. Roar! With a furious roar, the Night Fiend's fleshy wings opened, sending out dozens of gray wind blades that scattered the remaining sword chi. Then, the monster turned into a gust of wind and disappeared. Taoist Qingyang's expression changed. The bracelet on his wrist trembled slightly. The surrounding white threads gathered and weaved into a white net to protect his body. Then, he threw out the dark green iron ring in his hand, which landed on the mouth of the immemorial gourd. The magic power in his body surged, and the entire gourd glowed with a dark green light. Just as he finished all this, a silver figure appeared not far behind him, and dozens of extremely cold gray wind blades shot towards him. Taoist Qingyang seemed to have expected this. With a change of his hand seal, a large number of white threads around him instantly turned into green sword chi and charged towards the enemy. At this moment, the green sword chi seemed to be much more powerful than before. It had condensed more heaven-earth yuan chi, and the gray wind blade was no match for it. The silver-winged Night Fiend coldly snorted, and a golden luster appeared in his eyes. His surroundings blurred, and the gray wind blade seemed to have never appeared in the first place. The azure sword chi, having lost its opponent, remained motionless in place. Taoist Qingyang narrowed his eyes and poured his spiritual sense into the immemorial gourd. The immemorial gourd was filled with the nourishment of all living things, and the endless power of the will spread out in all directions. Those blurry illusions seemed to have met their natural enemy and shattered like mirrors. More and more threads of mist gathered inwards, and the area around him was densely covered with a circle of sword chi that was suffused with a green halo. After setting up these measures, Taoist Qingyang inwardly let out a sigh of relief. If it weren't for the immemorial gourd and the space-shattering formation, he wouldn't have dared to casually fight such a terrifying monster. The Night Fiend was one of the corpse kings of the Great Zhou's underworld mountain, a mutated grade 10 silver-armored corpse. Its body had been transformed from a cultivator with a wind spirit root, and it was born with the ability to use various wind attribute abilities. It was unknown whether it had devoured a special nascent soul, but after reaching grade 10, it had awakened the Eye of Illusion. This silver-winged Night Fiend was a ferocious existence in the Great Zhou dynasty. It had killed many nascent soul cultivators and even grand cultivators. Taoist Qingyang took a deep breath and said, "Silver-winged Night Fiend, I advise you to quickly leave. Even if you're in the middle underworld mountain, offending my sect won't end well." The Night Fiend's figure appeared 30 meters away, and he spoke in a hoarse voice. "What harm is there in Gu Deming coming to the middle underworld mountain? We corpse kings also want to know how much strength a deity transformation cultivator can display in an environment devoid of heaven-earth yuan chi." The Night Fiend looked at the 100 streaks of azure sword chi and said, "Old Taoist Qingyang, this strange formation is useless. Old Taoist Qingyang, I can't do anything to you because of your spiritual treasure and this strange formation. However, the other nascent soul cultivators of the Xian sect don't have the same ability. If you know what's good for you, hand over the supreme-grade spirit stones, or I'll slaughter them all." Taoist Qingyang's expression changed. Just as he was about to say something, a miserable cry came from the distance. Taoist Qingyang and the Night Fiend were stunned and couldn't help but look over. In a distant battlefield, a monster covered in silver scales and with bone spikes on its joints had appeared out of nowhere. Its entire body exuded a dense aura of coldness and death, and its sharp claws were being pulled out from the back of the head of a nascent soul cultivator from the Supreme Profundity sect. The nascent soul in the body seemed to want to fly out, but it seemed to be obstructed by an invisible force. It let out a cry of despair. "Senior Marshal Brother, save me!" Then, the monster's other claw grabbed the nascent soul. Gray Inchi wrapped around the nascent soul and threw it into the monster's fanged mouth. The silver monster's aura surged and it charged toward another mid-nascent soul cultivator. Strangely, the white threads around it dissipated as if an invisible force was destroying it. The two rogue cultivators who were originally besieged were overjoyed when they saw this scene. They activated their escape lights and took the opportunity to flee into the distance. A 9th-grade silver-armored corpse. The Night Fiend was stunned. No wonder he felt a familiar aura when he arrived at MT Crimson. It turned out that there was a 9th-grade silver-armored corpse hidden here. Its aura didn't seem like the zombies of the Middle Underworld Mountain. It seemed to be a wild one. Taoist Qin Yang saw this and was furious. The Middle Underworld Mountain came prepared. Silver-winged Night Fiend, do you really think I can't do anything to you? As he spoke, he bit the tip of his tongue and stimulated a drop of blood essence. A large amount of nascent soul power surged out and the immemorial gourd shone brightly. The immemorial gourd condensed into a small sword and shot out. The Night Fiend's expression changed as the sword of intent hit his body. Large amounts of blood vessels appeared in his empty eyes, and a bloodthirsty intent came out of his body to resist the sword of intent. Taoist Qin Yang continued to cast his spell. The surrounding light blue sword qi mixed with the origin energy of heaven and earth poured into the immemorial gourd. Then, a short blue sword engraved with mysterious runes flew out of the gourd. Light blue halos surged from the surrounding spiritual qi and converged on the sword. The thick halo of vital qi of heaven and earth was like a dazzling tail of flame. The might of this vital qi sword was 30% stronger than before, and the astonishing pressure caused all the cultivators in MT Crimson to feel their hearts palpitate. The scales on the silver-winged Night Fiend's body stood on end. He could smell the scent of death. Although his mouth was powerful, if he were to be struck by this sword qi, he would be severely injured even if he didn't die. He revealed a sinister expression and relied on the bloodthirsty intent in his corpse core to resist the immemorial gourd's intent. The cold yin energy in his body surged as he turned into a gust of wind and disappeared. Unexpectedly, the extremely solid sword qi seemed to have sensed something, and its speed increased explosively. It actually turned a corner and bombarded an empty space. Boom! An incomparably terrifying yuan qi of the world's sword into the sky. An azure halo like a blazing sun enveloped the silver-winged Night Fiend's stumbling figure. Countless sword qi rumbled from within, and layers of spiritual pressure surged in all directions. Taoist Qin Yang didn't stop and continued to channel his spells into the immemorial gourd. The gourd trembled and shot out 2 more blue sword qi. Although they didn't transform into short swords, the power they contained was still terrifying. Carrying a dense halo of origin energy, they continued to bombard the Night Fiend. Taoist Qin Yang's face was pale. Even with his profound cultivation, he felt weak after using several of the immemorial gourd's abilities. However, it was completely worth it if he could kill the famous Night Fiend. However, at this moment, he suddenly felt a terrifying pressure in the air around him. The remaining white threads around his body were instantly crushed into nothingness, and even his protective spiritual light flickered wildly. At some point, a burly figure wrapped in silver light had appeared behind Taoist Qin Yang. "There's an ambush." Before he could react, the burly figure waved his right hand. There were several silver cone-shaped vortexes on it, and it blasted toward his head at an astonishing speed. No. Taoist Qin Yang revealed a terrified expression. He had just unleashed his magic power and couldn't do anything in such a short time. Boom! The claws that exuded a terrifying penetrative power directly shattered his protective spiritual light. Taoist Qin Yang's terrified head cracked open like a watermelon. Chapter 1130. Green light flickered wildly within his battered body. Taoist Qin Yang wanted to use a teleportation technique, but for some reason, he couldn't do so under the pressure of an invisible force. The tiny nascent soul cultivator's face was filled with terror. Before he could do anything else, a layer of gray powder enveloped him, emitting an icy aura that blocked out spirit power. Taoist Qingyang felt his nascent soul's magic power stagnate, and then he sank into darkness. The silver figure that killed him was Lu Kuan. He had snuck in when the formation of MT Crimson began to stir, but he hadn't shown himself. After seeing the level 10 silver-armored corpse, he decided to take advantage of the chaos. The supreme-grade spirit stone fell into Qing Yang Daoist's hands because of it, and serene was also released by him at the right time. His purpose was to make these two guys fight. Lu Kuan put away Daoist Qingyang's storage bracelet and held the origin gourd in his hand, amazed. With the help of this treasure and the formation, it will be difficult to kill this person head-on. He hesitated for a moment, but didn't put away the gourd. Instead, he hung it at his waist and disappeared in a flash. Soon, the terrified voices of the Xian sect cultivators came from the distance. 2 corpse kings from Zhongming Mountain? No, there's no corpse chi. What kind of monster is that? Run! Soon after, the sounds of fierce fighting came from MT Crimson. Lu Kuan's current battle prowess was equivalent to that of a peak great cultivator. His speed and defense were even more astonishing. With Shirener's help, even if the nascent soul cultivators scattered and fled, none of them would be able to escape alive. An hour later, Lu Kuan reappeared in MT Crimson. He came to the location of the silver-winged night fiend. At this time, this middle underworld mountain corpse king was lying on the ground. The corpse energy armor on its body was in tatters, revealing its green-furred zombie body. Its wings were filled with black bones, emitting a rotten corpse energy. Lu Kuan sensed it carefully, and found that not only was its aura drifting, even its soul was extremely weak, and it had fainted. As expected of the corpse king of the middle underworld mountain. It has some strength. First, it was attacked by the will of a semi-god realm cultivator, and then it was attacked by the energy of a semi-god realm cultivator. But it didn't die. Serene had already returned to her normal human form. She landed on the side and curiously sized up this miserable fellow of hers. Lu Kuan glanced at the 2 silver-armored corpses, shook his head and said regretfully, "Although this wild silver-armored corpse has special abilities and is at the 10th level, its body is too horrible to look at. Although the defensive ability is not weak due to the limited amount of blood essence, there is almost no recovery ability. For such a physical wound, it will probably need to absorb a large amount of cold energy and the blood essence of immortal cultivators, and then spend a lot of time to recuperate before it can fully recover." As he spoke, he waved his hand and used the dragon's snapping stone powder to wrap it up. The soul-destroying material even seeped into the broken flesh and blood, wrapping it up into a gray stone puppet cocoon. "You leaked some corpse energy, didn't you?" Serene nodded softly and said, "I purposely released my aura. If it was a cultivator with a high cultivation, they should be able to detect it." Lu Kuan nodded with satisfaction. He waved his hand and put away the gray stone puppet cocoon on the ground. He said, "Keep an eye on it in the spirit beast space. If there are signs of it waking up, let me know." Serene nodded and turned into a ray of spiritual light, entering one of Lu Kuan's soft ribs. Then Lu Kuan's late-stage nascent soul divine sense surged out and scanned the entire MT Crimson. After finding nothing strange, he withdrew his aura and turned into a ray of silver light, flying into the distance. He checked a jade slip in the storage space of his ribs while flying in the right direction. In the entire battle of MT Crimson, only 2 rogue cultivators escaped when Serene attacked. The rest were all dead. Lu Kuan had purposely let them go. In their memories, Taoist Qingyang of MT Crimson fought with the silver-winged night fiend, and new silver-armored corpses appeared. Then, the faction fighting with the Supreme Profundity sect for supreme-grade spirit stones was naturally the Middle Underworld Mountain. When Lu Kuan eavesdropped on the Middle Underworld Mountain, he planned to throw this disaster to them. The middle underworld mountain was located in the center of the Great Zhou dynasty. To its west was the Guiyuan River, to its north was the ancient spirit state where the prime devil sect was located, and to its south was the Huatian state where the Huatian temple was located. Other than some spatial rifts, there was pure Yin energy inside. It was said that in ancient times, the middle underworld insect tribe invaded. Now that the insects were extinct, the middle underworld mountain became a place for zombies to cultivate. The 5 zombie kings inside were all level 10 silver-armored corpses. They were powerful. Moreover, there was no spirit chi or devil chi in the middle underworld mountain, so cultivators were not interested in it. Lu Kuan looked at the time immemorial gourd at his waist and narrowed his eyes. I didn't expect the divine ability of a soul formation cultivator to be so terrifying. Just the separated true essence and the heaven and earth essence chi in the soul formation domain can make a replica divine spirit treasure unleash the power of a divine spirit treasure. Lu Kuan recalled Taoist Qingyang's words and the terrifying essence chi sword. His expression turned serious. If he didn't use Dharma World or other divine abilities to weaken an attack of this level, he could withstand it with his physical body, but he would have to expend a large amount of blood essence to recover. A great cultivator could unleash such an attack with the help of soul formation true essence and a replica divine spirit treasure. If it was Gu Deming himself, he would probably be able to unleash such power with a casual divine spirit treasure. If he fought with Gu Deming in the Great Yuan state, he would be courting death. Thinking of this, his divine sense probed the jade slip again. The middle underworld mountain stretches for thousands of miles and is filled with cold Yin energy. There is no heaven and earth essence chi. If Gu Deming really goes to the middle underworld mountain corpse king, I can spy on these pseudo-soul formation cultivators' combat power in other environments. After Lu Kuan saw the time immemorial gourd's essence chi sword, he became more cautious. His internal injuries hadn't healed yet. Although he had the purple gold demonic saber in his hand, in an environment without devil essence chi, he couldn't unleash the power it should have. With his current blood essence and physical defense, as long as an attack like the essence chi sword hit him 6 to 7 times, the blood essence in his body would be depleted due to the repair of his flesh and blood. There was a limit to the physical defense of a bone transformation body cultivator. Source energy consumed devil essence chi. Damage to the physical body required blood essence chi to repair. Once blood essence chi and devil essence chi were depleted, he would be in danger. Lu Kuan was currently at the middle stage of bone transformation realm. His muscle defense was very strong. Only the attack of a great cultivator or above could cause some damage. The higher the attack power of the enemy, the greater the loss of muscle. It needed blood to make up for it. An increase in defensive power meant that more blood would be needed to repair the damage. Not to mention the Divine Spirit Treasure's essence chi manifestation ability, even if it was an imitation Spirit Treasure's attack, Lu Kuan would consume a lot of blood. As for the bones in his flesh and blood, although they had the support of the Silver Dragon Meteorite iron and their defensive power was better, they were still human bones magic treasures. They could withstand 1 or 2 high-level attacks. But if the attack exceeded the limit, it would cause great damage to its spirituality. The spirit essence array and the strengthening array would be damaged. At that time, it would affect the use of body source chi. The body refining pavilion was developing faster and faster. Sooner or later, he would face soul formation cultivators. But he also wanted to find the path of soul formation. He had to fully understand the supernatural powers of soul formation cultivators. Luring Gu Deming to the middle underworld mountain was the best opportunity. A great cultivator and 5 nascent soul elders have died near the supreme profound sect. Coupled with the appearance of the silver-winged night fiend, this old man is likely to personally investigate. He should be able to sense the aura of the chaos gourd. I can use this to guide him. The fastest route to the middle underworld mountain is to fly to the center of the Diyuan province and then cross the Guiyuan River. I don't know the speed of a soul formation cultivator, but just in case, I have to speed up. Thinking of this, the many bone treasures in his body flashed with light. At the same time, his blood essence surged, suppressing the aura of the bone treasures. With an ear-piercing explosion, he shot off into the distance. Chapter 1131. The Xian sect was located in the southwest of the Diyuan state. Its sphere of influence was extremely vast. Especially with the addition of a soul formation cultivator, it continued to expand. Its territory was close to a third of the Diyuan state, almost the same as the Qingyun sect. In the core area of the Xian sect, there were a total of 6 paradises, each of which was home to countless disciples. In the outer area, there were also many spirit veins, where the cultivator families and some small sects of the Xian sect were stationed. These small forces mainly provided the Xian sect with disciples with good aptitude, as well as services for various miscellaneous matters. Among the 6 paradises, the one with the most abundant spiritual qi was a ring-shaped valley full of vitality. It was filled with all kinds of lush vegetation, the sound of birds, and the fragrance of flowers. Pure wood attribute spiritual qi floated inside endlessly. In the center of the valley stood a towering ancient tree with a diameter of dozens of feet. Its height was more than 2,000 feet, and its luxuriant branches and leaves covered an area of several miles. This ancient tree was surrounded by countless green clouds, and from time to time, it emitted a sense of nourishment and endless vitality. Under its influence, the entire valley was full of vitality. This valley was the holy land of the Xian sect, the Qingyuan Valley. The Qingyuan ancient tree had existed since ancient times, and had a history of more than 60,000 years. The Qingyuan Valley was the place where the grand elders of the Xian sect cultivated. Gu Deming had entered the soul formation stage, so naturally, he settled here. On this day, on one of the branches of the Qingyuan ancient tree, a young man in a light green robe sat. He had long black hair and a handsome face. There was no aura around his body, and he looked like a mortal man in his 20s. The only strange thing about him was that there were a few wisps of light green mist lingering around his body, giving off an unfathomable feeling. This young man was the current grand elder of the Xian sect, Gu Deming. He was holding a wooden teacup and gently tasting the tea inside. On the tea table in front of him, there was a yellow bird. It used its beak to fiddle with the tea leaves, sending them into the teapot bit by bit. Then, with a slight flap of its little wings, a red flame flashed, and the teapot began to emit steam. Putting down the teacup, Gu Deming said, "In that case, our sect has lost 2 great cultivators and 8 nascent soul elders in the past few years?" Behind him stood a white-haired middle-aged man. He was the first elder of the Xian sect, Mo Honkai. When he heard this emotionless voice, cold sweat unconsciously appeared on his forehead. He braced himself and said, "Yes, martial uncle." When Gu Deming heard this, he didn't say anything. He tapped the tea table twice, and the yellow bird picked up the teapot with its beak and filled his cup with tea. After drinking another cup of tea, he slowly said, "What happened to martial nephew Qin Yang? Not long ago, I sensed that he had used up all of the true essence in the primordial gourd. He even drew upon a large amount of heaven and earth origin energy. Even if he was besieged by several great cultivators, he wouldn't have died." Mo Honkai said with a serious expression, "Martial uncle, it might be because of the corpse king of the middle underworld mountain." As he spoke, a brocade box appeared in his hand. A wisp of light green mist curled around the box and brought it to Gu Deming. The green mist flowed into the box through a crack. Gu Deming's expression darkened. A 10th-grade silver-armored corpse with a wind attribute aura. It's the silver-winged night fiend. Mo Honkai nodded. When Martial Nephew went to investigate, Only the shattered scales and flesh of the silver-winged night fiend remained on Mount Crimson. In addition, there was another corpse aura, but it was only at the 9th grade. At first, only the soul tablets of those junior brothers were shattered. Martial nephew Qin Yang was fine. Martial nephew thought that junior brother had gone after the enemy, but half a day later, his soul tablet, Gu Deming frowned. Martial nephew Qin Yang has the primordial gourd. The silver-winged night fiend is no match for him, let alone the 9th grade silver-armored corpse. It seems that other corpse kings might have made a move. Mo Honkai was somewhat puzzled. Martial uncle, the profound sect has no enmity with the Zhongming Mountain. Why would they oppose us? There seems to be something fishy about this. Gu Deming took another sip of tea. Aside from relying on the power of Yin to cultivate, these zombies also need spirit energy. The environment of the Zhongming Mountain causes their need for spirit stones to be extremely high. After so many years, those corpse kings have reached the peak of the 10th grade. According to the silver-armored corpse's method of breakthrough, they would need to devour the nascent souls of soul formation cultivators to cross the threshold and enter the next realm. Unfortunately, with their strength, it's like a mantis trying to stop a chariot when facing a soul formation cultivator. In order to seek a breakthrough, they set their sights on supreme-grade spirit stones. They want to use large amounts of supreme-grade spirit stones to absorb the energy within and attempt a breakthrough. Mo Honkai hesitated. But martial uncle, based on the phenomenon on Mount Crimson, there are at most 2 supreme-grade spirit stones. If it were before, this would be possible. But with martial uncle here, it's unlikely that the Zhongming Mountain would become enemies with us because of this. Could it be done by other forces? Gu Deming slowly stood up. With a wave of his sleeve, the tea table disappeared, and the little yellow bird landed on his shoulder. He coldly snorted and said, "I will investigate the specific reasons. The Chaos Gourd is a treasure that must be taken back. The Middle Underworld Mountain is involved, so it's time to knock some sense into them." Mo Honkai excitedly said, "With martial uncle personally taking action, we will definitely catch the culprit." Gu Deming said, "Yes, have you investigated the body refining pavilion?" Mo Honkai revealed an awkward expression and said, "Senior uncle, junior brother Peng had the dark green ruler in his hands, but he still died due to carelessness. The original infant stage elder who was accompanying him also had his soul tablet shattered. Furthermore, senior uncle went to the broken country." Gu Deming waved his hand. "If I were you, I wouldn't go there so easily. After the Zhongming Mountains matter is dealt with, I will go there personally. Remember, do not spread the news about the body refining pavilion. Such a miraculous body refining technique cannot be known by other sections." Mo Honkai nodded, then hesitantly said, "Oh right, martial uncle, not long ago, I heard some news about the Saint Devil sect. It said that the great elder Huang Chong and the third elder Xue Tianyu, as well as 10 nascent soul elders, all died. Junior brother Peng sent the news last time. It said that he joined forces with the Saint Devil sect to deal with the body refining pavilion. Do you think?" Gu Deming's eyes narrowed. "All of the Saint Devil sect's people died?" A light flashed in Mo Honkai's hand, and a jade slip appeared. He respectfully handed it over. The news came from the Shadow Pavilion. There are also images to prove it. Please take a look. Gu Deming picked up the jade slip, and his expression became serious. The body refining pavilion killed all of the Saint Devil sects and our sect's elders who went to the southwest realm of cultivation. Peng Yuanhua went to the Chu country, and the Saint Devil sect is in the Qi country. For the body refining pavilion to be able to do such a thing, other than the fact that they don't have any spirit-severing stage cultivators, their overall strength should not be weaker than our sect. Mo Honkai hesitated. "Martial uncle, could the news about the Shadow Pavilion be released by the body refining pavilion?" And junior brother Qingyang's death. Gu Deming looked at the jade slip in his hand and pondered. There are Dharma treasures and sect tokens in here. The news about the Shadow Pavilion must have been provided by the Body Refining Pavilion. As for Junior Brother Qingyang's death, it might have something to do with it. Speaking to here, he ordered, Junior Brother Mo, I will personally investigate Junior Brother Qingyang's death. During this time, tell all the nascent soul stage elders to stay in the sect. Do not leave easily. After this matter is resolved and we get back the Chaos Gourd, I will personally go to the southwest. Mo Hongkai respectfully said, Yes, Marshal Uncle. Gu Deming waved his hand. You may leave. Also, restrain the disciples. Do not be arrogant just because I have reached the spirit-severing stage. The Xian sect Grand Elder nodded and bowed. He took a few steps back, and then turned into a streak of light and left the ancient Qingyuan tree. Gu Deming stroked the yellow bird on his shoulder and said softly, I'll have to trouble you to patrol the territory during this time. The yellow bird nodded like a human and chirped twice. A tyrannical demonic spiritual power flashed, and like a bolt of lightning, it disappeared. Gu Deming's figure fluttered and he walked to the trunk of the tree. The thick wood seemed to be nothing and he walked straight in. This was a medium-sized tree hole. There was a wooden stump in the middle, and a grayish-white short sword floated above it. The surface of the sword was densely covered with mysterious runes, and a green halo of mist surrounded it. Gu Deming stretched out his hand and gently beckoned. The short sword nimbly fell into his hand. He murmured, Too many people have forgotten the power of our sect's Chaos Gourd sword. Chapter 1132. Lu Kuan was flying through the air somewhere in the Great Yuan province. He reckoned that the Supreme Profound Sect had already begun their operation. Not long ago, he had searched Taoist Qingyang's nascent soul and stuffed it into the Night Fiend's stomach. As the nascent soul was digested, the Night Fiend's soul gradually dissipated. The Supreme Profound Sect's great cultivator was completely dead. The silver-winged Night Fiend in the rib cage couldn't receive the nourishment of the cold energy, causing its injuries to worsen. Since Lu Kuan wanted to hide in the dark, he naturally wouldn't use his own blood essence to heal it. In order to shift the blame to Zhongming Mountain, he simply used Taoist Qin Yang's nascent soul. The corpse core of a grade 10 silver-armored corpse could easily absorb the power of a great cultivator's nascent soul and convert it into pure energy to heal injuries. The Night Fiend's body gradually recovered as his nascent soul was digested. However, the injuries to his soul weren't so easily healed. After ensuring the Night Fiend's life, Lu Kuan locked onto a jade slip in his storage bracelet and carefully examined it. The Great Yuan province was extremely vast and was a long strip of land. Even with his speed, it would take him an entire day to reach its center. During this time, he divided his attention and examined his spoils of war. The storage bracelets of several nascent soul cultivators and a great cultivator. For other cultivators, this was simply a windfall. However, from Lu Kuan's point of view, the magic treasures and pills inside the bracelets were not of much use. On the contrary, the jade slips that recorded secret techniques and anecdotes were of greater help to him. The jade slip he was looking at came from a wandering cultivator killed by Taoist Qingyang. It described the wonders of supreme-grade spirit stones. After a while, Lu Kuan came to a realization. No wonder those wandering cultivators risked their lives to steal supreme-grade spirit stones. It turns out that they contain heaven-earth yuan qi that can be refined and absorbed by nascent soul cultivators. Generally speaking, only spirit-severing cultivators can absorb and refine heaven-earth yuan qi. The jade slip's description of supreme-grade spirit stones and the small amount of information he obtained from Taoist Qingyang's nascent soul allowed Lu Kuan to have a deeper understanding of spirit-severing cultivators. Cultivators at the peak of the late nascent soul stage could comprehend or fuse the power of will with their nascent soul to form the power of the nascent soul. This was a sublimation of the power of the nascent soul. After attaining the immortal soul formation, cultivators would be able to truly control the yuan qi of heaven and earth. Other than the ability to trigger yuan qi attacks with a wave of their hands, they would also be able to absorb the yuan qi into their body and convert it into the true essence unique to soul formation cultivators. True essence was a form of energy that was of a higher level than mana. Just like how the power of a nascent soul cultivator was used against a core formation cultivator, it had a crushing advantage over lower-level energies. Apart from absorbing pure spiritual energy, spirit-severing stage cultivators also needed to refine the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in order to cultivate and recover their true essence. However, the spiritual energy in the supreme-grade spirit stones did not need to be refined and could be directly absorbed, saving a lot of time. However, supreme-grade spirit stones were extremely rare in the cultivation world. Even soul formation cultivators rarely used them. According to the Jade Slip, when a spirit-severing cultivator made a breakthrough, their physical body would be cleansed by the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Whether it was the strength of their body or their meridians, they would all be strengthened. If a nascent soul cultivator absorbed the spiritual energy from the supreme-grade spirit stones, although they would not have the power of the immortal soul and would not be able to form true essence, the spiritual energy would still be able to nourish their dharma body and slightly cleanse their physical body. Other than healing the internal injuries of the physical body, it could also increase the affinity of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. With the help of supreme-grade spirit stones, a cultivator at the peak of the mid-nascent soul stage would have a much higher chance of making a breakthrough. This rogue cultivator had many internal injuries in his body because of years of fighting. His cultivation level was also stuck at the peak of the mid-nascent soul stage. He was extremely thirsty for supreme-grade spirit stones. Unfortunately, he met Taoist Qingyang. The power of the spiritual energy transformation was not something an ordinary nascent soul stage cultivator could resist. After reading this Jade Slip, Lu Kuan revealed a thoughtful expression. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth has a nourishing effect on the physical body. I have not tried it yet. Now that my internal organs are still recovering from the healing process, I can try absorbing the supreme-grade spirit stones and see if there is any effect. Lu Kuan had obtained a supreme-grade spirit stone from the hands of the level 10 demon turtle. Although he could see the existence of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in it, he did not try it. Now that he had obtained 2 more pieces, he could definitely test it out. Let's go to the Zhongming Mountain first. Lu Kuan put away his thoughts. While flying, he checked the other Jade Slip. The Zhongming Mountain was adjacent to the Guiyuan River. It was a low hill that stretched for tens of thousands of miles. There was no green at all. There was grayish-black soil and sand everywhere. The highest hill was less than 500 feet. In the tens of thousands of miles high in the sky there were many small space cracks. From time to time, grayish-black cold wind would blow out. There was very little power of space inside, but it contained a lot of cold power. It circled above the Zhongming Mountain, causing the place to be gray all year round. With the passage of time, these cold winds would gradually gather. When they were strong enough, cold rain would fall, replenishing the cold power of heaven and earth. The Zhongming Mountain near the Guiyuan River was quite quiet. Except for the sound of the waves, there was only the roar of some dead creatures. It seemed gloomy. On this day, a light silver figure suddenly rushed out from the Guiyuan River. With an unparalleled speed, it rushed into the depths of the Zhongming Mountain. The figure was covered in broken silver scales, revealing green zombie hair. The wings on its back were badly mangled. Although it was seriously injured, it still seemed to have the will to fly. Its body was covered in a layer of silver light. Wherever it passed, the cold power was stirred into gray vortexes by an invisible force. Many dead creatures were alarmed by this huge movement. When they sensed the familiar aura of the silver-winged night fiend, they all revealed expressions of fear. Only a few creatures with profound cultivation noticed something unusual. As it flew, the heavily injured silver-winged night fiend landed in the core area where the cold energy was the densest. As if he couldn't control his strength, he crashed into the gray ground. A few moments later, a slender zombie covered in silver scales appeared at the night fiend's side, accompanied by an icy aura. It was slightly smaller than the night fiend and had no wings on its back. Instead, it had a row of sharp bone spikes. These spikes were the color of ice and emitted an astonishing cold chi. Icy mist flowed out from the spikes and permeated the silver scales, forming a layer of ice. This zombie was one of the corpse kings of the Zhongming Mountain, the ice-boned night fiend. At almost the same time, a dark yellow light surged from the ground and a huge zombie drilled out. It had a green face and sharp fangs. Its body was covered in rusty scales, and it emitted an incomparably vigorous aura. It was another corpse king, the Earth Night Fiend. When the Earth Night Fiend saw the Night Fiend's body, his voice was filled with shock. How did Silverwing suffer such heavy injuries? Even his soul has fallen into a deep slumber. The ice-boned Night Fiend extended a silver claw and pressed it against the Night Fiend's back. A clear female voice came from its fanged mouth. Silverwing is digesting the nascent soul of a great cultivator. If it weren't for the nourishment of this energy, his body would have already collapsed. Then, she looked at the 2 storage bracelets on his wrist. Before she could do anything, a dark yellow spirit light flashed and the bracelets floated away. The Night Fiend's gaze turned cold. Earth Night Fiend, what is the meaning of this? The Earth Night Fiend took the bracelets and indifferently said, "What's the rush? We corpse kings don't compete with each other. Can't I take a look first?" As he spoke, he probed the bracelets with his spiritual sense. Soon after, the scales on his face twitched and he tossed them away. The Night Fiend was still angry, but after examining the bracelets, his eyes flashed with shock. Taoist Azure Sun, the 3rd elder of the Supreme Profound Sect. The nascent soul in Silverwing's body can't be Taoist Azure Sun, right? The Earth Night Fiend's tone sank. The Supreme Profound Sect now has a spirit-severing cultivator. We can't be compared to the past. Let's gather a few corpse kings first and help Silverwing heal. When he wakes up, we'll ask him what happened. All right. The Earth Night Fiend then carried the silver-winged Night Fiend on his shoulder. The 2 corpse kings turned into 2 streaks of light and flew into the depths of the Zhongming Mountain. Chapter 1133. After the 2 corpse kings left with the silver-winged Night Fiend, Lu Kuan revealed a satisfied expression. He had purposely placed the 2 storage bracelets there. There were many treasures inside. In addition to Taoist Azure Sun's sect token, there was also the primordial gourd. He had also reluctantly placed 2 top-grade spirit stones. I just need to find a place to wait. Lu Kuan thought for a moment and then moved. He used his body's source strength to agilely walk through the void, flying towards the north of the Middle Underworld Mountains. That area was close to the ancient spirit state, which was filled with demonic energy. Even if Gu Deming came, he wouldn't pass through this area. He flew until he was 100 miles away before he slowed down. This place was beyond the sensing range of the Zombie King's territory. Moreover, at this distance, he would even be able to detect the battle waves of a grand cultivator, let alone the battle between Gu Deming and the Zombie Kings. After Lu Kuan carefully scouted the surrounding undead creatures, he found a small hill in a remote corner where the cold air was thin and there were no living creatures. He quickly dug out a cave several dozen feet wide and sealed the entrance. At the same time, he placed a large amount of Dragonbreaker stone powder on the cave walls to isolate the aura. For bone transformation body cultivators, Dragonbreaker stone was the most commonly used material. The power of the 5 elements restrictions and imprisonment techniques all used this material to isolate spirit energy. Currently, the Treasure Pavilion had begun to purchase Dragonbreaker stones from the Chu and Qi kingdoms. The ones he brought out from the Yuan secret realm were no longer enough. After arranging everything, Lu Kuan had Sure-Ener stand guard. A light flashed in his hand and a crystal-clear stone appeared. He lowered his head and pondered. He threw one of the top-grade spirit stones into the silver-winged Night Fiend's bracelet. He had obtained one from a rank 10 demonic turtle many years ago. That spirit stone only had half of the world's origin energy left. The one in his hand now had plenty of origin energy. According to the method described in the Jade Slip, nascent soul cultivators absorb top-grade spirit stones like ordinary spirit stones. But when the origin energy enters the body, it needs to be refined with the power of the nascent soul. Only then can it be transformed into a special origin energy that can nourish the body. A bone transformation stage body cultivator is different from a nascent soul stage cultivator. I'll absorb it into my body first. Then, Lu Kuan held the supreme grade spirit stone in one hand and began to absorb it. The wisps of spiritual qi that contained primordial qi entered his muscles from his hand. He hesitated for a moment before turning them into mana. At this moment, a destructive energy suddenly surged in his body. The muscles of his arm that was holding the spirit stone suddenly swelled, and blood vessels appeared on his arm. The formed mana can't coexist with the mana? Lu Kuan's expression changed slightly. Just as the spiritual energy was converted into magical power, his demonic energy violently tumbled, rejecting the magical power that contained vitality. Thus, his arm trembled slightly as he sent the converted Yuan Qi and dermic powers into his blood. At the middle stage of bone transformation, one's bones and muscles were filled with magic energy. According to Lu Kuan's speculations, only at the late stage of bone transformation would one's blood be able to store magic energy. Now, his blood was still very pure, and the mana was smoothly stored in it. There is mana within the mana, and it conflicts with the heaven and earth Yuan Qi. Unless the mana is exhausted, this kind of mana cannot enter the muscles and bones. Now that I'm in Zhongming Mountain, I can fight at any time. If I can't disperse the mana, then I'll try the internal organs. Lu Kuan did not have any hopes of using the mana to temper other parts of the body. His focus was on the internal organs. This part of the body had become weak because of the consciousness shock wave that was generated when he was healing. It needed to be repaired and nourished the most. With a thought, his blood wrapped a part of the mana and dermic powers entered the internal organs through the capillaries. The earliest time to temper the internal organs was at the beginning stage of body cultivation, the cultivation stage of the Vajra esoteric art. At that time, the most simple spiritual energy was used to temper and strengthen the internal organs. At the viscera forging stage, it was nourished with dermic powers. At the bone treasure stage, the internal organs were strengthened through the gradual strengthening of the blood. It was nourished subtly, and the improvement was very small. At the bone transformation stage, the entire body became a unified whole. On one hand, the strength of the bone cells gradually spread throughout the body, strengthening every part of the body. The speed was very slow. On the other hand, the internal organs were strengthened through the cultivation of the life force. At this time, Lu Kuan was using the viscera forging stage mana nourishment method. But after a few rounds of mana and dermic powers, the weak internal organs did not have the slightest reaction. Even if he changed the route several times, the result was the same. The mana can't come into close contact with the internal organs. Is it because the mana is only at the peak of foundation establishment, or is it because the mana has not been refined? Lu Kuan continued to circulate the mana and dermic powers in the blood while he fell into deep thought. Nascent soul stage cultivators use the power of the nascent soul to refine, but I don't have this kind of energy. The mana I have is incompatible with it, and the origin strength of the body is an external power. Or should I say, life force? Before, the aura of the underworld insect race's sacred item could not enter the depths of the internal organs. Isn't it the same as the mana and dermic powers now? Thinking of this, he mobilized the life force in his body and entered his internal organs through his spine. At the same time, he condensed the blood essence, wrapped the mana and dermic powers, and entered his internal organs and blood vessels. As the life force circulated, the blood essence was gradually absorbed by the life force, but the mana and dermic powers inside did not have any reaction. That's right, the life force can't absorb dermic powers. Lu Kuan raised his eyebrows and used the blood crystallization technique to disperse the converted dermic powers into pure spiritual qi, only wrapping the mana within. Just as he finished doing all this, the Yuan qi and essence blood were sucked into his internal organs by a suction force, where they were absorbed and refined by his life force. Lu Kuan revealed a trace of joy and urged the life force that contained the mana to circulate. With each circulation, a strange energy radiated from the life force and spread to all parts of his internal organs. Sensing the slight changes in his internal organs, he was pleasantly surprised. The jade slip was right. No, it should have been underestimated. The vitality nourishes the internal organs beyond imagination. With just a little vitality, the weak internal organs have recovered a lot. Maybe my internal organs are strong enough to fully absorb the vitality, or maybe it's because physique cultivators use the life force to refine instead of the nascent soul stage power. Hey, the vitality has been consumed. With the slight recovery of his internal organs, the life force returned to its previous state, and the vitality in the blood essence disappeared. Lu Kuan continued to absorb the supreme-grade spirit stone. He did not convert the dermic powers, but directly introduced a pure spiritual qi with vitality into his blood. In addition to circulating it like before, he also tried to cultivate the life force. After a few rounds, he found that from the perspective of cultivation, the life force did not increase after absorbing the vitality. Its improvement was still through the consumption of the blood essence. This meant that the vitality was the same as the aura of the underworld race's holy artifact, which was equivalent to an additional attribute. The holy artifact's attribute was that it would create a great conflict with other consciousnesses, and they could destroy and dissolve each other. When the vitality in the supreme-grade spirit stone combined with the life force, it had the effect of nourishing and repairing the internal organs. If I had enough supreme-grade spirit stones, wouldn't the damaged internal organs be able to quickly recover? The consumption of blood essence in the process would be greatly reduced, and the recovery time would be shortened? When Lu Kuan thought of this, he could not help but reveal a pained expression. If he had known earlier, he would have only left one supreme-grade spirit stone with the silver-winged night fiend. Let's see how the situation develops. If there's a chance, I'll think of a way to snatch it back from the corpse kings. After calming his mind, he continued to absorb the supreme-grade spirit stone, using the vitality within to repair the damage to his internal organs. Chapter 1134. The Corpse King Valley was located at the center of the Middle Underworld Mountains, surrounded by 5 hills. On this day, in the sky above this small valley that spanned over 10 miles, a large amount of gray cold wind surged. These spiritual winds gathered from all over Zhongming Mountain, as if something was attracting them. The cold wind accumulated more and more, gradually forming a grayish-black cloud. Then, dark purple lightning suddenly shot out from the valley and blasted into the cloud. The cold cloud was like boiling water, rippling violently. Tiny bolts of lightning were circulating within it, and a terrifying pressure of yin qi was emitted from it. These extremely cold and gloomy clouds swirled inwards under the lingering lightning, forming a funnel cloud that enveloped several kilometers in diameter. Rumble, accompanied by a muffled rumble of thunder, a dark gray pillar of energy gushed out from the huge cloud vortex and fell toward the center of the valley. The silver-winged night fiend lay flat on the ground at the center of the valley, surrounded by 4 terrifying zombies. In addition to the Icebone Night Fiend and Earth Night Fiend, there were 2 more Corpse Kings. One of them had bright silver scales all over its body. Its color was the brightest among all the Corpse Kings. Its body was slender, and its face was not covered by scales. It looked like a face made of gray wax. Its eyes and mouth were collapsed inwards, melting into 3 pitch-black holes. This was the spirit-devouring night fiend of the middle underworld mountains. The final Corpse King had a purple face and fangs. Lightning seemed to surge in its eyes, and 2 thick bone spurs protruded from its shoulders. Dark purple lightning flowed from them and roamed around its body. Its body was extremely sturdy, even thicker than the other Corpse Kings. Its silver scales couldn't completely cover it, and green hair could be seen squeezing through the cracks. This was the leader of the Middle Underworld Mountains' 5 great Corpse Kings, the thunderous Night Fiend. At this moment, he was raising both of his hands. Dark purple lightning curled around his thick palms. His aura was extremely cold, but it also seemed to contain a terrifying destructive power. Waves of mysterious fluctuations were emitted, guiding the grayish-black spirit pillars to fall from the sky. As he cast his arts, the thick pillar of energy gradually shrank until it covered the Night Fiend's body. As the energy poured into the Night Fiend's body, the shattered corpse chi armor began to shine, and the torn flesh began to heal. The thunderous Night Fiend opened his mouth, releasing a sparkling, translucent crystal. It floated above the Night Fiend's abdomen, enveloped in dense energy. If Lu Kuan were here, he would have discovered that this item was identical to the underworld insect sacred artifact in his possession. Condense the power of blood and activate the underworld crystal. With the thunderous Night Fiend's deep voice, the 4 Corpse Kings trembled. They opened their sinister mouths and spat out thumb-sized drops of silver blood underworld essence. In addition to the profound chi and blood force, each drop of blood also contained a special fluctuation of spiritual energy. They fused together and covered the octagonal crystal. The 4 Corpse Kings' energy surged as if they were activating a secret technique. The drops of blood melted on the underworld insect sacred artifact, and half of it disappeared. Then, a multicolored light shot out and entered the Night Fiend's abdomen. A wisp of willpower that could nourish all living things flashed through the Night Fiend's body. An invisible wave of consciousness spread out, causing the healing flesh to split open once more. The Corpse Kings seemed to have expected this. They spat out another drop of silver blood into the silver-winged Night Fiend's fang-filled mouth. His flesh trembled slightly and began to heal. Corpse chi surged through his body. After a short while, the dark gray pillar of spirit aura disappeared. The cold and gloomy clouds in the sky above the valley also gradually dispersed. They once again turned into sporadic gray and gloomy winds and hovered in the air. The Night Fiend's eyes snapped open, his silver pupils filled with terror. The wings on his back unfurled and quickly wrapped around his body. But then he noticed his surroundings. His wings drooped down and he blankly said, "Thunder! This is the Middle Underworld Mountain. Did you save me?" The Night Fiend swallowed the underworld insect sacred artifact and narrowed his eyes. "Silver Wing, you flew back with serious injuries. Do you remember?" The Night Fiend was stunned. "I came back on my own?" The Icebone Night Fiend said, "You flew out of the Origin River a day ago. You were seriously injured and fainted. If you hadn't devoured the nascent soul of a great cultivator, your body would have already collapsed." The Night Fiend sensed his body and his expression became strange. He opened his mouth and saw an extremely dim nascent soul floating before him. Its soul had collapsed and half of its nascent soul power had dissipated. He could barely make out its appearance. Taoist Azure Sun's nascent soul? What's going on? How did I kill him? The Night Fiend was dumbfounded. The other Corpse Kings looked at each other in dismay. The Icebone Night Fiend took out 2 storage bracelets and tossed them over. I found them on your body. The Night Fiend took the bracelets and scanned them with his spiritual sense. His pupils shrank when he saw something inside. His hand flashed with light and an azure gourd appeared. Then he thought of something and searched through the bracelet. 2 top-grade spirit stones brimming with spiritual chi floated in front of everyone. The Night Fiend blankly said, "Origin Gourd, top-grade spirit stones." Did I really kill Taoist Azure Sun and obtain this spirit treasure replica? The Night Fiend said gravely, "Silver Wing, tell us what you remember." The Night Fiend recalled the situation and slowly said, "A few days ago, I received a vision of a top-grade spirit stone appearing in Yuen Province's Crimson Cloud Mountain. So?" He began to describe what happened next. In the end, the Night Fiend looked at the azure gourd with lingering fear. "I didn't expect this spirit treasure replica to be so powerful after infusing it with ascended stage true essence. That sword of will heavily injured my soul. Later, the origin chi sword it released was even more terrifying. If it wasn't for the Corpse Core's bloodthirsty intent blocking it for a moment, I probably wouldn't have had time to defend myself. Then I felt the world spinning and lost consciousness. When I woke up, I saw you all." The spirit-devouring Night Fiend, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke. A hollow voice came from its pitch-black mouth. "Could it be that bloodthirsty intent temporarily took over your consciousness?" Bloodthirsty intent? What the spirit-devouring Night Fiend said makes sense. It might have been stimulated by ascended stage true essence and temporarily controlled Silver Wing's body. Thunder Yiksha's eyes flashed with lightning. He shook his head. If it really was bloodthirsty intent, Silver Wing's consciousness would have been devoured long ago. Even if it was nourished with dark spirit crystal, he wouldn't have awakened. The spirit-devouring Night Fiend said, "Silver Wing is the youngest among us. His consciousness has only been awakened for 800 years. There's still a long way to go before he reaches 2,000 years. Bloodthirsty intent might not have been able to successfully devour him. Plus, there's a ascended stage true essence blocking him. But there's still one thing that doesn't make sense." Thinking for a moment, Thunder Yiksha waved his hand and took the immemorial gourd into his hand. He sensed it carefully and said slowly, "According to Silver Wing's description, this immemorial gourd contains Gu Deming's true essence. Mount Crimson is where his ascended stage true essence is located. The chi of heaven and earth here is extremely compatible. Even if Silver Wing's consciousness was taken over by bloodthirsty intent and his body was heavily injured, he wouldn't be Taoist Qingyang's match." The silver-winged Night Fiend suddenly said, "Could it be that wild silver-armored corpse? Although I was only surprised for a moment, I sensed that fellow's energy was exceptionally pure. It seemed to be at the peak of the 9th rank." Thunder Yiksha thought for a moment. Peak level 9 silver-armored corpse? It's possible that it launched a sneak attack while Taoist Qingyang was casting his spell. But there's such a high-level wild silver-armored corpse outside Zhongming Mountain? Could it have been refined by other cultivators? The Night Fiend looked at the immemorial gourd. If it was some other great cultivator who launched a sneak attack, they wouldn't be willing to part with this spirit treasure replica. Thunder Yiksha nodded. Even a ascended stage cultivator wouldn't be able to ignore such a treasure. He was silent for a while and slowly said, "The treasure is in our hands, so we naturally won't return it. It's fine if Gu Deming doesn't come, but if he dares to come, we 5 great corpse kings might have to contend with him." Chapter 1135. Apart from the spirit-devouring Yiksha, who was expressionless, the other 3 corpse kings looked fearful when they heard the Thunder Yiksha's words. The silver-winged Yaksha hesitated. Thunder, I heard you say that the 5 corpse kings don't fear soul formation cultivators in Middle Underworld Mountain, but a trace of fear flashed through his eyes as he said, but that Taoist Qin Yang almost killed me with just a strand of soul formation stage true essence and a spirit treasure replica. If a soul formation stage cultivator really came, beside him, the ice-boned Yaksha seemed to have thought of something. Thunder, is this the secret joint technique you mentioned before? That's right. Thunder Yaksha snorted coldly and said, 600 years ago, the old man of the Prime Devil sect had his eyes on the Middle Underworld Mountain. He wanted to refine some devil zombie. In the end, I, Devouring Spirit, and the 3 zombie kings of the previous generation used a secret art to force him back. He looked at the other 3 corpse kings. It's been 200 or 300 years since the 3 of you entered the 10th realm. You've basically refined the essence of the previous corpse king's blood, so you can use this secret technique. To prevent Gu Deming from the Supreme Mystery Sect from coming here, I'll teach you the secret technique to resist soul formation cultivators. Thunderiaksha sorted out his thoughts and said, cultivators of the soul formation stage have 2 great strengths. One is their divine will, which contains their will, and the other is their powerful true essence. The former can easily attack the divine soul of anyone below the soul formation stage, while the latter can activate the terrifying divine ability of transforming vital chi. This secret joint technique targets these 2 points. He snorted. Ever since the fusion of heaven and earth, these cultivators can only use pseudo-divine soul formation techniques to break through. Only in their soul formation region can they manipulate true essence. Mount Crimson is within Gu Deming's true essence, so Taoist Qingyang was able to manifest true essence with just a wisp of true essence and a spirit treasure replica. But out of this region, soul formation cultivators can still manipulate true essence, but the consumption of true essence will greatly increase. As the true essence becomes thinner, the consumption will increase. It's the same for soul formation cultivators of the demonic sect. But what they control is devil essence, which is closely related to the density of devil chi. Thunder Yiksha raised his head and looked at the sky. Above Corpse King Valley, wisps of gray cold wind were circling. When these pseudo-divine transformation realm warriors arrive at the Middle Underworld Mountain, they won't have any chi of heaven and earth or devil chi to use. They will have to either suppress their opponents with their thick true essence or activate the refined true essence in their true essence to create the power of true essence. If I do this, my Jin Yuan consumption will reach a terrifying level. I won't be able to fight for long. One of the methods of the secret technique is to combine our cold and yin energy together. With the help of a supreme-grade spiritual stone, we can temporarily produce a burst of nether energy that only metal elite zombies have. This energy is on the same level as Zhen Yuan, and is enough to resist it. Dark Origin, the Night Fiend rubbed his body, recalling the terrifying attack he had suffered. He couldn't help but ask, if he activates the Yuan Qi in his Zhen Yuan and uses Yuan Qi manifestation, will Dark Essence be able to block it? And there's also willpower. Do I have to activate Bloodthirst to resist? At that moment the Night Fiend's hollow voice sounded, your situation was a special case. If I release the bloodthirst in my corpse core, my consciousness will be completely devoured, which is equivalent to death. The other corpse kings all showed a silent expression, and their eyes flashed with a bit of unwillingness. Although zombies wouldn't die naturally, their consciousness would dissipate. A peak 10th rank silver-armored corpse could maintain its consciousness for 2,000 years at most. Lower-level zombies could last even less before their consciousness was devoured by the bloodthirst in their bodies. These zombies would kill all other creatures, be it zombies, cultivators, demonic cultivators, or even demon beasts, devouring their nascent souls and nadens. Once a bloodthirsty zombie appeared, it would become the public enemy of all races. The reason the Middle Underworld Mountain had been able to survive until now was not only because of its powerful overall strength and the lack of chi of heaven and earth, but also because it could reduce the number of bloodthirsty zombies. The cold and yin energy here was dense, and the zombies gathered here all had their own consciousness. They were a new kind of life. Whenever a zombie's consciousness was about to dissipate, they would self-destruct their corpse cores to force out the essence of their bodies. They didn't want their bodies to become mindless beasts after death. Hearing the word bloodthirst, Thunder Yiksha's eyes flashed with hatred. I don't know what the overlords of the nether bugs did after creating the zombies, but the bloodthirst will appear as soon as the new zombies absorb the yin energy. They're doing this to mislead us to try to merge with the bloodthirst, but we'll only become beasts and won't be able to reach a higher level. Remember, you can only try to suppress the bloodthirst. Never release it, the silver-winged Yiksha said, but without the corresponding willpower, how can you resist the attack of a soul formation cultivator? The ice-armored Yiksha suddenly thought of something. A ray of blue light flashed in his eyes. Is it the underworld spirit crystal? That's right. Thunder Yiksha nodded. He reached out his hand and an octagonal crystal appeared in front of him, spinning slowly. He said in a deep voice, because of the bloodthirst, the zombies reached their limit after reaching the peak of level 10. 40,000 years ago, a zombie king from the Zhongming Mountain encountered a severely injured soul formation and nascent soul cultivator on the ancient battlefield of the Broken Nation and ate him. But after returning to the Middle Underworld Mountain, he couldn't absorb the powerful soul formation cultivator even with the help of a large amount of yin energy. In the end, the zombie king activated the underworld spirit crystal in the Middle Underworld Mountain. Not only did he absorb the soul formation cultivator's true yuan, but he also refined his willpower. His consciousness condensed a crystal in his mind. That zombie king had an extreme yin body and was highly compatible with the yin energy. With the help of a supreme-grade spirit stone and the soul formation cultivator's true yuan, he condensed the underworld spirit crystal in his body and became the first metal elite zombie with self-awareness. Apart from the spirit-devouring Yiksha, the other three zombie kings all looked at Thunder Yiksha. They had only reached level 10 in the past few hundred years, and this was the first time they had heard of the secrets of the Metal Elite Zombie. This secret art was created by Senior Metal Elite Zombie. The Thunder Yiksha stared at the consciousness crystal with a hint of intoxication in his eyes. According to this senior's guess, this sacred relic of the Netherworm is a kind of pure consciousness crystal made by a powerhouse of this race. The Underworld Bug Clan's cultivation system doesn't allow them to comprehend willpower, but to condense this consciousness crystal. The Metal Elite Zombie is able to control both the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth and the demonic Yuan Qi with ease. Furthermore, he is unaffected by the restrictions of the region. Coupled with his perfect consciousness, his abilities are so powerful that he doesn't need to fear any divine transformation cultivator. At this point, Yiksha was silent for a moment before he continued. Who would have thought that not long after Metal Elite Zombie revealed this ability, 3 demigod stage cultivators would come knocking on his door. They coveted Metal Elite Zombie's ability to control all kinds of Yuan Qi and wanted to study its secret. After an earth-shattering battle, these people and Metal Elite Zombie disappeared without a trace. The silver-winged Yiksha and Ice Armor couldn't help but clench their fists. Thunder Yiksha shook his head. That's a bit off-topic. The secret art to resist soul formation cultivator's willpower is to use the consciousness crystal as the core. Just like Silver Wing, it relies on the power of Heart's Blood to activate it. At the same time, it has to be flexible in changing the corpse energy armor. All you need to do is, the Silver-Winged Yiksha and the other 3 zombie kings listened attentively. Waves of corpse energy and yin energy surged from their bodies and began to evolve. Chapter 1136. A handsome young man in a green robe appeared beside the Guiyuan River in the southern part of the Zhongming Mountain. His feet were bare, and his body was surrounded by a thin layer of light green mist. He floated quietly in the air, and there was a wisp of green spirit light in his palm that was spinning in a spiral. Soon it turned into an arrow that pointed towards the depths of the middle underworld mountain. This person was Gu Deming. He looked at the arrowhead in his palm with a cold glint in his eyes. The immemorial gourd is in the Zhongming Mountain? These corpse kings are truly audacious, attacking the supreme profound sex head. After leaving the Qingyuan Valley, Gu Deming first went to Mt. Crimson. He used a secret technique to investigate. In addition to the 2 silver-armored corpses, he also sensed the auras of many unfamiliar cultivators. Unfortunately, he couldn't determine their cultivation level. If there were only 2 silver-armored corpses, Taoist Qingyang and the other Xian sect elders could resist them with the help of the space-cutting formation and the immemorial gourd. He suspected that a third party was involved. Out of caution, Gu Deming used a secret technique to sense the remaining true Yuan aura of the immemorial gourd. If someone else was involved, the immemorial gourd couldn't have fallen into the hands of the Zhongming Mountain. No cultivator could resist the temptation of a spirit treasure replica. In the end, he tracked them all the way to the Zhongming Mountain. Rumor has it that the spirit-devouring Yikshas and the Wutu Yikshas are proficient in concealment technique. If the 3 corpse kings were to launch a sneak attack, they might succeed. But there's another possibility. This immemorial gourd is a bait. Just in case, I have to hold back. Gu Deming's expression was cold. With a flip of his hand, the blue arrowhead in his hand disappeared. An incomparably powerful pressure surged from his body. The blue mist outside his body turned into a bright blue light, and an incomparably powerful aura spread out. This dazzling escape light carried a trace of blue halo and a tail flame. It streaked across the sky, and the cold wind that contained a bit of the power of space was scattered by this huge spiritual pressure before it could touch the escape light. The undead creatures within a radius of a few hundred kilometers all sensed the boundless, terrifying aura. It was as if the sky was about to collapse, and they all fled in fear. It didn't take long for a spirit-severing cultivator to cover a distance of several thousand miles. He didn't conceal his aura along the way and arrived outside the Corpse King Valley without any hindrance. Gu Deming sensed the dense cold air floating above the valley, as well as a special restrictive force. He snorted coldly and formed a seal with his hands. Waves of frightening mana fluctuations surged between his hands, and a dark green light ball appeared. With a light wave of his hand, the light ball, which was only the size of a watermelon, turned into an arc and shot towards the Corpse King Valley. When it reached the sky above the valley, the light ball suddenly exploded, and dozens of extremely nimble green spirit snakes scuttled out. At this instant, this deathly silent gorge seemed as if it was situated within a green forest, and an aura of endless growth and nourishment gushed out from it. The stench of corpses in the nearby air was dispersed, and it emitted a fresh smell. These green spirit snakes were like spring thunder, blasting towards the Corpse King Valley. Boom, 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 astonishing air waves surged outwards. Under the impact of this completely different and terrifying aura, the grayish-black cold air was fragmented. The cold air in the distance was also impacted into countless cold whirlwinds, rolling outwards and forming a cold wave. Spirit-severing cultivators, just by relying on their vigorous true yuan, could cast spells that were far more powerful than late-nascent soul cultivators. However, this level of attack wasn't enough to pose a threat to the 5 Corpse Kings. His goal was to disperse the restrictive force of the Corpse King Valley and force them out. Sure enough, a low voice came from the bottom of the valley. Gu Deming, the middle underworld mountain isn't the Diyuan province. It's not a place for you to behave atrociously. I advise you to leave quickly. Hearing this, Gu Deming said with some contempt in his voice, If it was a metal elite corpse, I would still be somewhat afraid. But just a few level 10 silver elite corpses, and you dare to speak like this? If you know what's good for you, hand over the sex treasure, and I can leave you with a trace of consciousness. As he spoke, the spirit-severing cultivator's divine sense spread out. His gaze suddenly froze. Although he could sense the aura of the 5 corpse kings, there was a layer of strange aura at the bottom of the valley that was a bit like a divine sense restriction, and he couldn't see the situation inside clearly. That low voice snorted coldly. Back then, even the old man of the Prime Devil sect didn't talk so big when he came. Your supreme mystery sex Chaos Gourd is with us. Come and take it if you can. When Gu Deming heard this, although his expression was still arrogant, he raised his guard. It sounded like the old monster of the Prime Devil sect had come to the middle underworld mountain before, and couldn't do anything to these corpse kings? He didn't beat around the bush. His hand seals flashed, and a stream of true essence gushed out from his nascent soul. A green sword of light several feet long appeared in front of him. It had a green halo circulating around it, and there was a layer of mysterious runes on its surface, emitting an aura of endless vitality. Gu Deming directly used the vital qi in his true essence. In this environment without any spirit qi, he struck out with a vital qi manifestation spell. This green sword of light that emitted a terrifying wave of vital qi blasted out with a tail of vital qi flame. That powerful vital qi pressure continuously pressed down on the surrounding cold qi. The thick gray fog at the bottom of the valley seemed to have sensed the terror of this attack, and quickly condensed inwards. A huge figure was exposed in the empty Corpse King Valley. This was an incomparably ferocious one-legged monster. It was more than 10 feet tall, with a purple face and fangs. Its head had the face of a thunder yiksha, but in between its eyebrows, there was a translucent multifaceted crystal, which faintly flashed with colorful light. On both sides of the shoulders of the head, there were 2 bone spurs that were about the same height. They were flashing with dark purple lightning. The torso below was abnormally strong. It was covered in thick muscles, with silver scales and green hair hanging from it. Its right arm was very thick. Just the circumference of its arm alone was equivalent to the size of an entire zombie. However, there were no lines of muscles, and it was like a cylindrical pillar wrapped in a layer of bright silver scales. The front part of its right arm didn't have a palm, but a fist that looked like it was made of flesh-colored wax. This flesh-colored wax had collapsed inward into 3 pitch-black holes. This monster's left arm was only half the length of its right arm, but it was twice as thick. It was like a silver ball of flesh, and there was a row of bone spurs several feet long on it, emitting an astonishing cold qi. The sole leg of its lower body was even thicker than its huge torso. It was covered in yellow rusty scales. On the back of its thigh, which was as thick as a millstone, was a pair of shiny silver wings that were gently flapping. This monster with the head of a thunder yiksha looked at the vital qi sword of light that was shooting towards it, and a sinister smile appeared on its face. Its meatball-like left arm and right hand were pressed against its chest. A regular pentagonal silver shield suddenly appeared in front of it, and at the same time, the multifaceted crystal between the thunder yiksha's eyebrows shot out a ray of 5-colored light at the shield. A golden light quickly spread across the shield, shining with a golden halo, and directly blocked the powerful vital qi sword. Rumble! Green-gold halos crazily intertwined, and terrifying energy fluctuations crazily overflowed. The defense of the golden shield seemed to be insufficient, and it was pushed back by the light sword bit by bit. In the sky above the Corpse King Valley, the cold yin qi that had been blasted away seemed to be attracted by something, and surged over, entering the monster's body. Although the golden light shield was a little dim, it still didn't dissipate. The powerful aftershocks produced by the 2 halos rolled in all directions, and the hard rocks on the ground that had been tempered by the cold Qi for countless years gradually shattered. The huge monster full of thick corpse Qi was still able to stabilize its body under the huge impact, and its body seemed to contain powerful brute force. What kind of zombie is this? Gu Deming's eyes darkened and his hand seals surged. The green light sword suddenly exploded, turning into countless small short swords that dodged the golden shield and blasted towards the monster's body. Boom! A green-gold ball of light exploded, forming a halo wave that crazily spread in all directions, and the entire Corpse King Valley trembled violently. Chapter 1137. The Ancestor of Body Cultivators, Weekend Update. Please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 1138. The explosive power of this Yuan Qi sword was incomparably terrifying. The solid rocks on the ground of Corpse King Valley were blasted open, leaving behind only a small amount of corpse energy. The tall and ferocious zombie seemed to have been blasted into ashes by this terrifying attack. Something's wrong. Gu Deming didn't feel the joy of victory. Instead, he frowned and spread his divine sense, which contained the power of will, in all directions. Then he seemed to have discovered something. The true essence in his body surged. He formed a seal with his hands, and two green spiritual balls appeared in his palms. He threw them down. Almost at the same time, on the ground below, a mass of yellow spiritual light emerged. A huge ferocious zombie drilled out of the ground and soared into the sky. Its bloated body looked intact, as if it hadn't been hurt at all. Its body was agile. With a sidestep, it dodged the two spiritual power attacks and went straight to Gu Deming's body. Bang! But who would have thought that, accompanied by a strong green light, the two spiritual balls twisted and turned into a dozen or so thick vines that were 10 feet in length. The vines were covered with green thorns, and were faintly flashing with a halo. It was like a green octopus, stretching out its tentacles and wrapping the ferocious one-legged zombie with lightning speed. On those thorns, dark green light spots condensed and scattered on the zombie's scales and green hair, trying to penetrate into the zombie's body. The sudden appearance of the vines made the one-legged zombie unable to react. It was directly trapped and stopped in midair. However, its reaction was extremely fast. Its right hand, which looked like it was made of wax, stretched out, and the 3 black holes on it emitted a strong suction force. The light spots condensed on the thorns were directly sucked in. Then, the bone spurs on its shoulders emitted 2 dark purple thunderbolts. A layer of dark yellow flames also appeared on its one leg. The aura of the thunderbolts and fire was amazing. It was no less than the spiritual pressure on the vines. Boom! A ball of purplish-yellow lightning exploded, and the dozen or so thick vines withered at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then, a terrifying brute force gushed out from the one-legged zombie's bucket-thick arms, and with a push, the vines were easily torn apart, turning into specks of spiritual light and dissipating. In midair, Gu Deming, after a moment of obstruction by the vines, had a 3-foot-long dark green jade ruler in front of him. It was his life source magic weapon, the Qing Yuan ruler. This magic weapon was also integrated with the Tai green stone. Although Peng Yuanhua's imitation of the dark green ruler was based on the Chaos Sword, its structure was based on the Qing Yuan ruler. With the infusion of Gu Deming's true essence, the Qing Yuan ruler shot out a thick green sword light. An aura that seemed to be able to tear the void appeared and blasted towards the zombie that had just escaped. The monstrous momentum was no less than the power of the manifestation of true Qi. In the face of the fierce attack, the one-legged zombie's eyes were not flustered at all. The silver flesh wings on the back of its thighs flapped slightly, and an extremely cold wind attribute spiritual power flashed. Its huge body was in a trance for a moment, and then it turned into a breeze and disappeared in place. The sword light lost its target and directly bombarded the ground. The sword chi formed by Tai's green light seemed to be piercing through the Zhongming mountain under the activation of the demigod realm's vital energy. Endless rumbling sounds came from the black hole in the rock. It was unknown how deep it went. Wind escape technique? Perceiving the aura of the wind attribute, Gu Deming's eyes narrowed. On the green light shield outside his body, a spherical fog suddenly gushed out and spread in all directions. It also contained an endless power of will. Just after doing all this, the one-legged zombie's huge body staggered and fell from the void about 10 feet behind him. A hint of surprise flashed in its eyes, and a surge of chi and blood rolled in its body. The crystal between its eyebrows radiated a colorful spiritual light to its body. The silver flesh wings on its thighs flapped twice, and then it turned into a green wind and disappeared into the fog. It can still use the wind escape technique? Gu Deming's eyes narrowed. He had just used a secret technique to manifest the power of his will and true essence outside. Within this fog, anyone with a cultivation weaker than him simply wouldn't be able to use a teleportation technique. But this zombie could still use the wind escape technique, indicating that it had the power to resist true essence and will force. These thoughts flashed through Gu Deming's mind, and the one-legged zombie's huge body appeared in front of him. The row of bone spurs on its left arm were wrapped in a layer of golden light, and with a cold chill, they pierced towards the protective spiritual light outside his body. Although the enemy was close to him, Gu Deming did not panic. Spiritual light flashed in front of him, and a round wooden shield carved with patterns appeared. Under the injection of true essence, the Qing Yuan ruler exploded with a terrifying sword chi that seemed to tear through the void, and it blasted towards the zombie's chest. The one-legged zombie's eyes narrowed, and the power of Yin surged, and a golden pentagonal spiritual light shield appeared in front of its chest. At the same time, the bone spurs on its left arm suddenly released a cold light, and the layer of golden light on them directly separated, turning into several extremely cold bone arrows. They bypassed the zombie's wooden shield, and blasted towards the protective spiritual light outside the zombie's body. Rumble! A cloud of chi mixed with a golden and green halo exploded in midair, and the sound of the explosion reverberated in the mountains. Layers of terrifying shockwaves rolled out in all directions. 2 figures, one big and one small, shot out from the cloud. Both sides were wrapped in a golden and green halo, and countless terrifying yuan chi pressure constantly erupted between them. It was unknown whether it was the aftermath of the previous battle or some other reason, but a large amount of yin chi that had been squeezed out began to gather in the sky, and a thick gray cloud of yin chi gradually appeared in the sky. The pentagonal shield on the one-legged zombie's chest disappeared, and the scales on its body were covered in a layer of golden halo. The bone spurs on its left arm continuously blasted towards Gu Deming, and its right fist made of wax had turned into a pitch-black hole. There was a constant suction force coming from inside. It was unknown what kind of magic it was, but it could even swallow half of the Tai green light in the Qing Yuan ruler. And the absorbed green light, for some reason, would circulate to the bone spurs on the zombie's left arm to counterattack. From the yin chi cloud in the sky, a gray and black pillar of yin chi would drop down from time to time, accurately landing on the one-legged zombie's body. This thick pillar of yin chi quickly replenished the yin chi that the zombie had lost. Gu Deming's expression was very serious, and he kept making hand seals. The Qing Yuan ruler and the wood spirit shield surrounded him, and from time to time, he would throw out a yuan chi sword. As the number of attacks increased, he had already sensed that there were 5 different kinds of auras in the huge corpse chi, which meant that this strange zombie was formed by the fusion of the 5 zombie kings using some kind of secret technique. After the fusion, the zombie's body had a golden energy that matched the true yuan. Although the zombie's consciousness did not have the power of will, It contained a special kind of aura that did not fear the will of a soul formation stage warrior. In addition, this zombie had also integrated the magic of the 5 zombie kings. The silver flesh wings on its legs could perform the wind escape technique, and with the help of the golden energy, its speed was amazing. Every time he wanted to fly out of the Inchi cloud's range, the zombie would use this teleportation magic to get close to him first. Its right arm had the rare metal attribute devouring power, and it could even devour part of the power of the Yuan Qi sword. Its left arm performed the power of ice, and its legs also contained some kind of special spirit flame in addition to the earth escape technique. The mutated magic of these silver-armored zombies, under the stimulation of the golden energy comparable to true Yuan, was only slightly weaker than the Yuan Qi transformation technique. As time went by, the one-legged zombie's various magic spells and magic became more and more fluent, and its attacks were endless, as if several grand cultivators were continuously urging the imitation spiritual treasures to attack. Gu Deming relied on the refined Yuan Qi in his true Yuan, and from time to time, he would use the Yuan Qi transformation technique to gain a slight advantage. This divine transformation cultivator's face was solemn, and he had long since stopped underestimating his opponent. With the help of the endless Yin Qi, the zombie seemed to be able to hold on for a long time, but the Yuan Qi in his true Yuan was decreasing with each use. If the battle continued, he would probably have to use supreme-grade spirit stones to recover his true Yuan. No wonder he could force the old man of the Prime Devil sect to retreat. Looks like I have no choice but to use the Chaos Origin sword. Gu Deming once again used the Yuan Qi sword to force his opponent back. With a wave of his hand, a small gray sword appeared in his hand. Its surface was densely covered with mysterious runes, and it was surrounded by several green halos. The one-legged zombie in the distance seemed to feel a strong sense of danger after the appearance of this small sword. The multifaceted crystal between its brows shone brightly, and the Yin Qi in its body roiled. The golden light on its corpse Qi scales became even more dazzling. Clang! The true Yuan in Gu Deming's body surged. Just as he was about to activate the Supreme Mystery Sect's sect treasure, a short sword hum flashed past, and the Chaos Origin sword floated up, its tip pointing towards the north. He was stunned at first, and then realized something. His face darkened, and his consciousness, which contained the power of will, spread towards the north. Who's there, spying here? Chapter 1139. Hearing Gu Deming's words, the one-legged zombie was stunned. Then, anger flashed through its eyes. It sent out a powerful spiritual sense to the north. In his current state, his divine sense was no weaker than that of a soul formation cultivator. He could sense 200 kilometers away, but apart from some undead creatures and the deathly still rocks in the middle underworld mountain, there was no strange aura at all. After a while, Gu Deming retracted his spiritual sense. He sensed the one-legged zombie's actions and said, "Zombie kings, did you also sense someone spying on us?" The one-legged zombie hesitated. Then, Yaksha's voice came out of its mouth full of fangs. "We didn't sense anything strange. May I ask how fellow Taoist Gu discovered someone hiding nearby?" Gu Deming stretched out his hand. The Origin sword was still pointing to the north, but it returned to its original state after a few swings. He said slowly, "This is my sect's divine spiritual treasure, the Origin sword. It has already gained sentience." The sword chime just now was because it sensed the aura of a divine spiritual treasure, so it gave out a warning. Yaksha's surprised voice came. "Fellow Taoist Gu, do you mean that this hidden person also has a divine spiritual treasure? He wants to launch a sneak attack while we're fighting?" Gu Deming looked at the Chaos Origin sword in his hand that was no longer moving. His eyes narrowed as he said, "Before this Gu came, I suspected that a third force had joined forces with the middle underworld mountain. Now, seeing your expression, it seems that you also have doubts. The Thunder Yiksha said, I once thought that there were other forces helping Silver Wing, but after seeing the primordial gourd, most of my doubts were dispelled. Now that I think about it, a big force with a divine spiritual treasure might not care about a replica. Although he didn't mention names, both sides knew that other than the Xian sect, only the top 3 sects of the Great Zhou dynasty had such power. Gu Deming waved his hand and the primal chaos sword disappeared from his hand. The pressure in the air dissipated and the tense atmosphere dissipated. His tone was calm as he said, Corpse King, please tell me what you know about MT Crimson. If it was instigated by a third party, it will only benefit them if we fight. When the one-legged zombie heard this, his expression relaxed. However, he didn't intend to withdraw the secret fusion technique. Instead, he raised his guard. Then, the silver-winged night fiend spoke. Not long ago, this king passed by the Diyuan province. Gu Deming's brows gradually furrowed as he listened to the other party's account. Anger flashed in his eyes as he took a deep breath. You're guessing that Bloodthirsties will took over the silver-winged night fiend's body and joined forces with a wild level 9 silver-armored corpse to kill Marshal Nephew Qingyang? That's right. Gu Deming's face darkened. But apart from Marshal Nephew Qingyang, all the other nascent soul stage elders of our sect on Mount Crimson, including several rogue nascent soul stage cultivators, were all killed by you? The silver-winged night fiend was stunned. The other nascent soul cultivators died as well? I remember that only one of them was killed by a level 9 silver-armored corpse. When he regained consciousness, he only had Qingyang's storage bracelet in his hand. He abruptly stopped here and switched to the thunderclap night fiend's voice. Fellow Taoist Gu, Silverwing was struck by the Origin Gourd's origin sword. Even with a level 9 silver-armored corpse, it was impossible to kill all the other nascent soul cultivators. It seems that the Supreme Profound Sect's elder was killed by the master behind the silver-armored corpse. If we continue fighting, I'm afraid we'll just be following their wishes. Gu Deming looked at the 3-meter-tall zombie. The powerful energy within showed no signs of weakening. After a moment of silence, he calmly said, Let's drop this matter for now. However, Marshal Nephew Qingyang's storage bracelet must be returned to me. The one-legged zombie nodded. There was a flash of light in front of him, and the 2 storage bracelets floated forward. Gu Deming took the bracelets and looked around. In addition to the Origin Gourd, there were also 2 supreme-grade spirit stones. His expression eased a bit. From what you said, Marshal Nephew Qingyang's nascent soul is still here. The one-legged zombie hesitated for a moment before opening its mouth and throwing out a jade bottle containing a dim and broken nascent soul. When Gu Deming saw his Marshal Nephew's nascent soul, he became even angrier. However, when he thought of the Origin Sword's warning, he suppressed his anger. Regardless of whether or not the Corpse King of Zhongming Mountain was working with other forces, he couldn't continue fighting in this environment without any spiritual qi. A cultivator who could evade his divine sense and had a divine spirit treasure was obviously at the divine transformation realm. His cultivation was even more profound. If he used too much of his true essence, he would be in danger. The face of the Grand Elder of the Qingyun sect flashed in Gu Deming's mind and his expression darkened. He put away the storage bracelet and jade bottle and said coldly, I will investigate this matter. If it really has nothing to do with you, then so be it. However, if the Zhongming Mountain is involved, the Xian sect won't let it go so easily. With that, he looked toward the north. A burst of green light rose from his body and turned into a streak of light, shooting toward the southwest. The one-legged zombie floated in the air and looked at Gu Deming's departing figure. Several consciousnesses in its body were communicating rapidly. The first supreme-grade spirit stone is almost used up. If this goes on, I'll have to use the second one. Jaleh, he should be gone. I don't have enough heart's blood. I can't hold on much longer. Me too. The 3-meter-tall zombie slowly flew toward the Corpse King Valley. Zha Lei's consciousness sounded in his body. I'll give you some of my heart's blood. Hold on a little longer. The Zhongming Mountain might be hiding another soul formation cultivator, but this person's target should be Gu Deming. Qingyang Daoist storage bracelet has been given out. As long as we don't show any signs of weakness, this guy won't make a move easily. Okay. Got it. Then, the huge zombie disappeared into the cold air of the Corpse King Valley. North of the Corpse King Valley, on a small mountain more than 100 miles away, there were a lot of scattered rock. These rocks were all gray and black because of the cold air all year round. On the surface of one of the rocks, some stone powder slowly drifted outwards under the wind, revealing 2 holes that were even smaller than a finger. An almost imperceptible golden light flashed through the holes. Lu Kuan's body was hidden in this rock, his eyes looking in the direction of the Corpse King Valley through 2 small holes. After catching sight of a wisp of cyan escaping light on the horizon, he let out a sigh of relief. Not long ago, when he sensed the terrifying aura of the soul formation stage, he went to the tallest hill nearby and crushed the rock. Using the power of the void, he combined the rock powder and his body into a rock, leaving only a small hole to secretly observe the battlefield in the distance. That small gray sword should be the origin sword of the Xian sect. It's really powerful. It sensed me as soon as I activated the bone treasure. Lu Kuan's golden eye had expanded a lot after activating the attack ability last time. He could clearly see the scene 100 miles away. He was amazed by the 5 Corpse Kings' secret fusion technique. He also recognized the multifaceted crystal between their eyebrows. It was the sacred item of the Netherworld insect tribe. He didn't expect these top-level silver-armored corpses to have the means to use the treasure of an alien tribe and unleash a terrifying power comparable to a soul formation cultivator. As the battle progressed, he had a better understanding of the combat power of Gu Deming, a soul formation cultivator. First of all, although this person's speed was much faster than that of a great cultivator, it was still much slower than him. If he encountered this person, even if he couldn't defeat him, he still had the ability to escape. Then there was his combat power. Gu Deming didn't use the Yuan Qi manifestation ability for every attack. It seemed that in such an environment, the Yuan Qi manifestation consumed a lot of true essence. As for this person's other spells and the sword qi from his natal magic treasure, their power was equivalent to that of a top-level great cultivator using a spirit treasure replica. With Lu Kuan's current physical defense ability, he could take at least 20 attacks head-on. Moreover, with his explosive speed, as long as he wasn't too close, it wouldn't be difficult for him to dodge. After understanding Gu Deming's strength, Lu Kuan's heart was a little restless. He had found a solution to the hidden danger in his internal organs. If he disregarded everything and activated the power of 1 yuan, the terrifying power of 2 million jin would be able to seriously injure him. He was itching to use the bone treasure, but who knew that he would be sensed by the other party's divine spirit treasure? If he hadn't restrained his aura in time, he would have been discovered. With the divine spirit treasure in hand, even in this area without Yuan Qi, it's difficult to sneak attack a soul formation cultivator. Lu Kuan looked in the direction of the Corpse King Valley. The joint attack of these Corpse Kings is quite interesting. It seems to consume a lot of blood qi. The body of the silver-armored corpse can't produce blood essence on its own. This loss can only be made up by absorbing a large amount of blood essence of cultivators. This ability should be difficult to use in a short time. This is a chance. Lu Kuan specialized in physical cultivation and had a top-level silver-armored corpse like Serene as his subordinate. Just by observing, he could determine the weakness of the Corpse King's combined attack. To prevent Gu Deming from coming back, I'll come out later. Chapter 1140. In the depths of Corpse King Valley, the one-legged zombie lay flat on the ground. Cold Chi poured in from all directions and entered its body covered in silver scales. Several consciousnesses were communicating inside. Thunder, it's been a day and a night. You don't have much blood left. There's no spirit chi in Zhongming Mountain. Cultivators can't stay here for too long. All right, let's cancel the spell. Following the exchange of consciousnesses, a trace of golden light lit up in the zombie's belly. Along with the 5-colored luster, it gradually separated into 5 silver spots. One stayed in the distance, while the other 4 rushed to its arms and legs. The multifaceted crystal on top of the purple-faced fanged head seemed to lose its support and fell into its mouth. Then, the silver scales on the one-legged zombie's body transformed into a faint silver corpse chi. The zombie's 2 arms and 1 leg gradually separated from its torso as the corpse chi surged. The wax fist with the black holes twisted in a certain direction. The wax on it wriggled and turned into a terrifying face with 3 black holes. The corpse aura condensed into scales again, and the spirit-devouring Yiksha's body appeared. The left arm with a row of bone spikes was the curled-up body of the Icebone Yiksha. As for the thick leg, it was formed by the silver-winged Yiksha and Earth Yiksha. The 4 corpse kings separated from their torsos. The remaining torso and head were Thunder Yiksha's body. The muscles on its torso withered, and its 4 limbs extended from the side. Thunder Yiksha stood up and felt the weak chi and blood in his body. He sighed. Silver-winged, your blood isn't enough. Otherwise, the combination could last longer. However, after using this secret technique, the blood essence of the previous corpse king will be able to fuse with your bodies even faster. Earth Wutu, go arrange for the silver-armored corpses of Zhongming Mountain and capture some core formation cultivators from the smaller factions. It'd be best if there are rogue nascent soul cultivators. We urgently need their blood essence. Who is it? At this point, Thunder Yiksha's expression suddenly changed and he looked outside Corpse King Valley. A deep male voice came from the cold clouds in the distance. Thunder Yiksha is indeed the leader of the 5 zombie kings. He easily sensed Lu's existence. The rest of the Corpse King's complexions changed greatly. Although they didn't release their divine sense, if a cultivator entered the Corpse King Valley, it was impossible for them not to sense it. It could be seen that this person's divine sense was amazing. Dozens of feet away, 2 figures gradually emerged from their concealment. One of them was a middle-aged man with a burly figure, dressed in gray, and the other was a beautiful woman. The 2 of them did not emit any aura, just like mortals. The moment the Corpse Kings saw this man, they suddenly felt a chill down their spines. The green hair on their bodies all stood up. This kind of feeling was also felt by Gu Deming, but this time it was even more obvious. It seemed that this man's divine ability had a certain restraint on them. On the other hand, the Night Fiend took a few more glances at the beautiful woman. For some reason, he sensed a somewhat familiar aura from her. Thunder Yiksha stared fixedly at the burly man. In addition to the sense of threat, his peak 10th rank silver-armored corpse body also produced an extreme desire. In addition to some kind of divine sense that suppressed them, this man also seemed to have a treasure that was very useful to silver-armored corpses. However, this feeling was only fleeting. If it wasn't for his pure consciousness, he wouldn't have noticed. Thunder Yiksha's expression darkened as he looked at the man and woman who were still slowly walking forward. Cold energy surged in his body, and 2 thick bolts of dark purple lightning shot out from the bone spurs on his shoulders. They contained an astonishing amount of cold energy and a destructive aura. They rushed out like 2 lightning dragons baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. When the burly man saw this, the corners of his mouth curled up. The air around his body twisted, as if some kind of invisible spell was surging. The 2 lightning dragons were attracted by something and landed directly in front of his chest. A ball of lightning liquid wrapped around him. Although these two bolts of lightning didn't absorb the world's yuan qi, they were still a mutated spell of peak silver-armored corpses. However, in the face of such powerful lightning power, the burly man didn't use any defensive means. He allowed the lightning to flash on his body as he walked forward leisurely. Crackle, dark purple lightning flashed on his body, but it couldn't even break through his exposed skin. It only looked a little black. Not long after, the power of the two lightning bolts was exhausted on the surface of the burly man's body and dissipated into nothingness. The 5 corpse kings were all stunned. The 5th Earth Yiksha, the one with the strongest defense, rubbed his eyes as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. If he had taken the attack with his physical body instead of the cold force, his corpse chi armor would have been damaged. However, this human cultivator who looked like a mortal was actually unscathed. Hurry up and use the fusion secret technique. Thunder Yiksha knew the power of his attack the best. He couldn't help but feel horrified. He hurriedly used his divine sense to send out a message. The other corpse kings shuddered. The corpse chi in their bodies surged and their bodies moved closer to him. You still have the strength to use the fusion secret technique? The burly man exclaimed softly. His body moved, and with a few ear-piercing sonic booms, he disappeared on the spot. In the next moment, Thunder Yiksha's pupils suddenly shrank. He only had time to cross his arms in front of his body. Dark purple lightning flashed on them. Then, he felt a terrifying force surging toward him. Bang! With a loud crash, the tall body of the Thunder Yiksha was sent flying without any resistance. Then, several silver phantoms of fists and feet flashed in the air. The other 4 corpse kings followed closely behind. They were hit by a terrifying force and their zombie bodies were sent flying more than 30 meters away. The violent force squeezed the air, causing a turbulent flow of air pressure to overflow, stirring up gusts of grayish-black cold wind. The burly man stood quietly among the corpse kings. He shook his head and said, "You don't have to fight. Lu didn't come here with any evil intentions." Thunder Yiksha stood up. Several pieces of corpse chi armor on his arms shattered. He looked at the burly man. There were a few scratches on the man's arm, but they were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The other corpse kings climbed up from the ground one by one. Deep fear flashed in their eyes. This human man had such a terrifying body. The man had attacked the Thunder Yikshas first. Relying on their battle instincts, they counterattacked at the first moment. However, the flesh that their sharp claws touched seemed to be even harder than magical equipment. It was difficult for them to even scratch the skin, let alone hurt the man. Thunder Yiksha took a deep breath and said, "May I ask who you are? What business do you have in Corpse King Valley?" The burly man stood with his hands behind his back and said slowly, "I'm Lu Kuan, the owner of the Body Refining Pavilion. I come from the Southwest Cultivation World. I came to Zhongming Mountain to make a deal with you." After the several corpse kings heard this, their stiff faces revealed astonishment. The Southwest Cultivation World seemed to be in a very distant place. Body Refining Pavilion? Could it be a sect that cultivates the body? When did the cultivation world have such a cultivation method? But looking at this man's body, they had to believe it. Although they only exchanged one move, the 5 corpse kings could clearly feel the horror of this man's body. Whether it was defense, strength, or speed, he was stronger than the 10th level silver-armored corpse. Generally speaking, the corpse kings were not afraid of any cultivators below the soul formation realm in Zhongming Mountain. Cultivators in the late nascent soul realm couldn't absorb the vitality here at all, and their attack power was greatly reduced. In addition to the strong cold power, they also had the physical strength of millions of pounds. But this man named Lu Kuan in front of them didn't use the vitality of heaven and earth. He completely suppressed them with his physical strength alone. They were no match for him at all unless they used the secret combination technique. and with his unpredictable speed, they didn't have enough time to use this ability. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.